Hello, it's Gray.
Hello, it's Crystal.
And this is Bustation Beauties, a supernatural commentary podcast where I, someone who has seen this show so many times.
And I, someone who only knows the show through social media, discuss every single episode of Supernatural from start to finish. Also, we are both Asian.
Both Asian. For today's episode, we will be discussing Season 5, Episode 2, Good God, Y'all, written by Sarah Gamble, directed by Phil Segrisha, which is a surprise to me because I feel like there's a Robert Singer Zoom this episode.
Huh. Yeah. And I'm surprised that it was written by Sarah Gamble, given that it's literally just a redo of 301, which was a Kripke.
This is better than 301, though. Definitely.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Sure.
This episode...
I don't know. I think it's worse because it comes second, so, it's like we already saw it.
Well, okay, here's the thing. When I was watching this episode, I was like, does anybody love Supernatural?
Huh. I did not feel that way.
No, okay. First off, this episode looks different from what we have had, I think, recently, including the last half of season 4. Because
it's more Croatoan-y.
Yeah, it looks season 1 to 3-ish. Or specifically season 1 and 2-ish. And I think it is because it feels like Croatoan, the episode. That's what the episode is called, right? And yeah, so it feels like that. The vibes are correct. And I don't know, multiple times watching this episode, especially the first half, I was like, I remember now why I kept on watching Supernatural. Which is I feel like a bit of a crazy statement to make, given that I am watching Supernatural still after so many years. But sometimes I do forget that this isn't just something I've always liked. It's
yeah, you have to make the decision to keep consuming poison at every step.
Exactly. And I drank that poison every single time because I like the show. And this episode, I was like, is this episode really a standout? Not particularly.
No.
But it is for that reason that I think it brought those thoughts to me. Because it's a case episode, fundamentally. And we haven't had that in so long.
Yeah, this is true.
So now that we have a case episode, I'm like, is Supernatural a show that I like? And yeah, I suppose it is. Crazy.
Congrats.
Thank you. What do you know about this episode?
The only thing that I actually knew was and I did it, all of it for you, and now you and your brother have ended the world or whatever Cass says.
I mean, did you know that prior to when I said it last episode, or you just knew it?
Well, I knew that it was either in 501 or 502, and it wasn't in 501, so...
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I figured that we would see Joe and Ellen again, but I didn't know if this was the episode where they were gonna die or not, and it's not.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I'm not gonna say the number, but... I mean...
Okay, yeah. That's not also an Abandon All Hope, is it? I think it could be, because I know Meg kills them. And
you'll find out.
I'm assuming that's the episode with, the last night on Earth, well, I'm gonna spend it with a little something I call self-respect, and then the, Cass doing shots with Ellen and Joe.
Yeah, and the picture.
Is that all 510? And the group picture, yeah. Ugh. Okay, well, that comes later.
Yeah.
So, I didn't know too much.
Yeah, okay. Did you know about Rufus?
I did not.
Rufus doesn't really have much characterization this episode. But it is nice to see him again. It's nice that he calls him Bobby.
I enjoy his face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
that he calls Bobby right away.
Because that happens right after the cast scene, right? So I'm already thinking Supernatural is a good show. And then Rufus shows up,
Right.
and I'm like, is Supernatural the greatest show of all
It's
time?
a great show, yeah.
I'm so easy to please. They have a music cue this episode, and I'm like, wow.
I thought the scoring this episode was quite bad, actually.
No, I mean, I didn't really pay particular attention to the scoring in general, but the song in the middle, in the middle,
right,
when they're entering the
The
town.
Heaven one?
When they're entering the town.
Yeah, I have the name written down somewhere.
I have too. This is not a song I would seek out by myself, but when it plays in my various songs that play in Supernatural playlists that I have saved, I do listen it through.
Okay,
So,
it's Spirit in the Sky by Norman Greenbaum.
yeah.
Because he heard, like, black gospel music, and then he said, I can do that, actually, and it's really easy, and then he wrote this song. That's the backstory. It's on Genius.com.
It's a one-hit wonder. I don't think he has ever released a song that was famous ever again. So,
Well.
yeah.
There you go.
Well,
Maybe you aren't that good a songwriter, but yeah.
yeah, well, okay, so we start the episode. We have, another road so far.
A then sequence with Long, Long Way from Home by Foreigner playing.
Yeah. It's okay.
Yeah.
We do get a substantial cast section.
Do we?
Yeah. Of him stabbing the angels and stuff.
I suppose a one shot of cast could be a substantial cast section depending on how you look at it.
Yeah, I mean, for me, Cass's entire purpose in this episode is what a substantial role Cass plays in this episode. And it's literally nothing.
Being hot, yeah.
He plays no role this episode.
Yeah, so the then sequence, it's pretty Sam blood drinking centered, I'd say.
Due also to where they take this episode.
Yeah, they decide to keep in Dean's wonderful line, are you jonesing for another hit of bitch blood or what?
Yeah.
Without keeping in Sam's response. So, yeah, interesting way of shaping the narrative there.
And we also see, Ellen and Joe. So
Yeah, we see
know.
Rufus.
Yeah, so we know what's coming.
Another way of shaping the narrative is that for seeing Rufus, we just hear Bobby say he's a hunter, and not the part where he's retired.
No, yeah.
I don't.
We'll talk about
we
Rufus
don't get
when
any
we get to
explanation.
him.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm assuming it's just because the last
Yeah,
time we
the
see Rufus
apocalypse,
was
so he's
season
you need
3.
as many people as you can get. Blah blah blah.
No, I think it's also the fact that the case is introduced as Rufus was investigating omens here. I do think there is the factor of it's just so much is happening, you just can't ignore it, even if you're aware of the apocalypse or not.
Yeah.
We start the epi. We're in the hospital where Bobby is confined.
And there's this sad music.
Yeah.
Annoying, I think.
Okay, can you tell me why? Verbalize.
I think it's I think it comes in more later when Bobby's talking. I think it's that in terms of when people become disabled, of course individuals are going to mourn that because of the ways that they have to change how they live their life. But most media about people being sad about their disability is coming from a place where they think that an able-bodied life is the only one worth living, and the sadness is basically thinking the character can never be happy again and may as well be dead now. And I think if it was just Bobby expressing personal upset without the music, it would be just the first case, an individual being sad about the way that his life has to change. But when you add in the larger creator side of the music, then it feels more like the second thing where it's he may as well be dead now.
Yeah, it feels like the show is already making a judgment call of this entire situation instead of just Bobby feeling feelings. Okay, I understand that. I do think, because like with Bobby, my entire vision on how this arc goes is a bit fuzzy. I know how it ends, which is Crowley. Yeah. Crowley gives him his leg functions back. But I don't know how he acts in the middle. You know, I'm not sure. So I think for me, I'm like, okay, let's see how the show navigates it before I make my judgment call. I mean, as you said, like, I mean, yeah, like if this happens to you, you would be upset. So I mean, like, yeah, okay. Like for Bobby, there is also must be the feeling of like it's the apocalypse. And then there's also this thing.
What I can do.
And also, like, you know, when Cass says later, like, oh, I can't heal you. And Bobby was like, oh, so I'm just gonna be stuck here for the rest of my life. And I was like, well, a bit of an exaggeration. Cass, like, when this is all over, Cass can just heal you, I suppose. But, like, Bobby does think that he is gonna die soon because of the apocalypse.
That Cass is gonna be cut off from heaven, like, permanently because of his betrayal, though?
Yeah, I suppose. I didn't think of that.
Yeah, he's not cut off because it's the apocalypse. He's cut off because he helped Dean.
Yeah, but if you know... Yeah, he'll be cut off forever, even if heaven or hell doesn't pursue the apocalypse. As Crystal said, this is what's happening, and Sam is on the doorway just watching. Dean comes in. He's holding a fucking X-ray envelope, and Sam and Dean start talking about, like, oh, what's up with Bobby?
Having the world's loudest conversation, like 8 feet away from him.
Later, Bobby, for a different conversation, goes, I can hear you. And I'm like, Bobby can hear them the entire time. The amount of self-control he had to just not say, I can hear you immediately, as, like, Dean struts in and goes, it's been like 3 days now. Like, he was so strong for that.
Yeah, I guess he was being not talking because he was sad for 3 days, so it didn't occur to him to say, I can hear you.
Yeah, but yeah, Dean is like, oh, what the fuck are we gonna do? Can I give him a back rub? And Sam's like, Dean, stop joking around. And he says that, well, maybe we just have to wrap our heads around the idea that Bobby might not just bounce back this time. And he points out the X-ray Dean is holding. And, Dean got glamour shots from radiology. And Sam holds up the x-rays and it's ribs with sigils and I think Enochian, right? Yeah. Dean's like, oh, the doctors are baffled because I'm so special. And Sam's like, holy crap.
He's not that special.
Yeah, wait, here. Sam goes like, holy crap. And Dean goes, yeah, well, Cass carved you one too. And I was like, that line is for Crystal specifically.
Well, Cass did. I mean, if we're saying that line is for Crystal specifically, the scene where Cass says, I did this to both of you and touched both of them on the chest is for me too, to show that it happened to both of them, apparently.
Wait, what when did Cass says, I did this for, and then touch both their chests? What are you talking about?
What? No, like when he actually... I'm saying in the last episode when he actually carves it, and it's clear that he does it to both of them because he touches both of them and then says that he does it to both of them. I guess if it's just petty old Crystal wanting it to be clear that he did it to both of them, I guess the scene where he does it, is also just for me.
Yeah, they're pandering to you specifically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They knew that, like, 15 years later, I would be sitting here
going, well, he carved Sam's ribs too, and he literally did. Yeah, Sam's phone rings. Interesting that he called
Cass
Sam,
knows
I
his
believe.
number. Well, he also called Sam in 415, didn't he?
For
As
what?
Bobby.
Oh, yeah. This is how he knows Sam's number.
Yeah, he's known Sam's number the whole time, and I don't know if he knows Dean's number.
No,
maybe
but like
he's not into him and he's into Sam. Maybe we can think about that.
No, what I'm saying is it is pretty funny to me that he calls Sam, because that is pretty much the only communication that happens between Cass and Sam in this episode. He calls Sam to be like, hey, where are you? And your brother. Okay. And then he goes there and just talks to Dean the entire time. And it is so funny to me personally. But whatever.
It is pretty funny. I mean, I'm sure he feels awkward about letting Sam out of the room, and also how he's not going to tell him that he let him out of the room.
Many choices for Sam, and specifically Sam's interaction with other people this episode was so fascinating.
You mean when Ellen goes, I'm so glad to see both of you, and then only hugs Dean? Yeah.
I legitimately thought...
hates Sam's ass.
You know what I thought was happening in that scene? I was like, does Ellen think that like Sam started the apocalypse? Did she hear something about it? So she's upset with Sam. No. But literally not. Like, she just she just want to hug Sam. Sam's too tall for a hug.
For real. But yeah, no. Despite the fact that like this episode concludes with like a Sam thing, they really just aren't thinking about Sam and his relationship to other characters like at all.
A lot of the Sam introspection this episode is introspection just within the self. There's no character interaction. Sam says where they are. And then Cass like hangs up on the phone and Sam's like, whatever. And oh my god. The most this incredibly iconic shot.
One point against Sastiel is that, did you notice how Sam pronounces Cass's name when he picks up the phone? He goes, Castiel?
You know what? This is my dream for this is my vision for Supernatural. I want that every single time Sam says Cass's full name, Castiel, he pronounces it a completely different way.
Castile?
He should be like, Castiel. How does he do it this episode? Like,
Castiel?
Castiel. He should do a Castile. He should do a Castiel even, just like me for real. Yeah, he should do, Castiel. He can do everything. He can do whatever he wants. And it's important to me. Yeah, there's this incredibly iconic shot of Cass walking into this fucking hospital hall.
Yes, with this little trench coat swishing.
It is so important to me. This specific shot is a shot that has been gifted to Ellen back. Everybody knows it. Everybody's seen it. It's Cass, and his trench coat is swishing, and he's on his way to talk to them, and to Dean specifically. He doesn't give a shit about anybody else. But okay. He walks in, stands in front of Sam and Dean, and Dean goes, cell phone Cass? Really? Like, since when do angels need to call? And Cass says, well, you're hidden from me now due to the sigil, so whatever. And Bobby goes, enough foreplay, Cass Bobby real. Get over here and lay your damn hands on me, Cass Bobby real. But like Cass doesn't respond, and Bobby's like, well, what's happening? And Cass says, I can't, because I'm cut off from heaven, and also he doesn't have his, like, there are things that he can do and things that he can't. And this one, well, he cannot. And Bobby's mad. He says, what, like, I'm just gonna be stuck here? You lost your powers just in time to get me stuck here, stuck in this trap for the rest of my life? Yeah, Cass does say, I'm sorry, which I do appreciate. And Bobby says, shove it up your ass, which I also do appreciate. Yeah, this is when Dean is like, well, at least he's talking. And Bobby goes, I heard that. And he goes to turn to Dean. And I say to turn to Dean because Cass, like, Sam is also in this scene.
They're like less than a foot apart.
Yeah, he stands so close to Dean. maintains so perfect eye contact with him.
Impossible for him to be, looking at anybody else or talking to anybody else.
Like, Sam is not even in the shots
For some
of any
reason,
of their
Sam is
faces.
back against the fucking wall, like, on the opposite side of the room, like, where Bobby is.
Like, you need a third shot to see Sam. Like, he's not in this conversation at all. And it is funny every time we pan to Sam, and he's, like, looking at Cass talking, and Cass is just so fully looking at Dean.
Yeah, I mean, the One Direction RPF post, he only got 2 eyes, but still, he's making sure that his 2 eyes can only behold Dean because of how close they're standing. So that's different. That's real.
Yeah. And then Cass goes, okay, we need to talk about your plan to kill Lucifer. And I was like, it's Sam's plan too. Sam is in this plan also.
In fact, Sam was like more for it. Because he was the one who was like, let's go find the cult. And Dean was like, I was just making shit up to like make Bobby happy or whatever. Okay, I feel like Sam is one of those people who says like we when presenting a team project, and Dean is one of those people who says I. So like Sam will call Cass and be like, oh, like, we have a plan to, like, find Lucifer, and, like, we want to find the cult, but, like, it is just him.
No.
And Cass just attributes it to Dean.
I don't think this is a Dean. This is a Dean problem. I think this is a Cass problem, true and true. Because later, he goes, I did all, like, you know, when he does that, I did all of it to take care of you. And you can assume that the you is, like, Sam and Dean. And then he goes later, you and your brother. So it's like, no, it's you, it's just Dean. Because when he's talking about Sam, he adds a your brother in there, which is so funny.
Sam's, like, right there. Yeah.
And he doesn't even spare Sam a look when he goes, you and your brother destroyed the world or whatever. He's just only looking at Dean.
Yeah. I mean, he's still prejudiced against Sam for the demon blood drinking. I think, like, it is a shakier place for them right now.
But it is incredibly funny to me. You know, I think maybe the appeal of Dasiel in season 5 is that I think Cass literally just has a crush on Dean and he doesn't get that. Like, Cass doesn't get that. He doesn't understand what's going on. Good for him.
Yeah. He thinks he has angel COVID.
Probably. Cass says, oh, your plan is foolish, but I think I have the solution. And there is someone besides Michael strong enough to take on Lucifer. Sam's like, who's that? And Cass says, oh, the one who resurrected me and put you guys on that plane. The one who began everything. God. And then Cass goes, oh, no, they do a zoom in first. They do a zoom in on Dean's face. And then on Sam's face.
Yeah, when they cut to Sam's face, it's so clearly a Jared Padalecki trying to act confused. Because, like, Sam, like, twitches his face in a way that is incredibly unnatural.
There is something about Sam this episode that feels so Jared Padalecki. Like, later I have that thought of like, oh, this is Jared Padalecki putting on something in the final scene, which, like, when he's talking to Dean. Because, like, in French Mistake, Sam plays Jared playing Sam, right? And there is a certain delivery that...
I play Sam playing Jared, but yes.
Yeah, whatever, yeah. But there's a certain delivery in those lines. And the thing is, the way Jensen acted, Dean acting,
a lock,
it's like...
then there must be a key.
No, but the thing is, the way Jensen acted, Dean acting, was like, it was very obvious that, like, it's different. Like, Dean doesn't know how Dean, the character, is supposed to be acted. So he's acting just completely weirdly. And also, he just doesn't know how to be in front of the camera. With Sam, there is this idea that Sam is self-aware enough to be like, and if I was in a TV show, this is how I would be acted. And so, Dean is acting just completely different, but Sam is acting like an exaggerated version of how Sam is acted. And there is a certain delivery he does in those lines where he emphasizes his H's and like that kind of noise, like he emphasizes that. And he does
Yeah.
it in the last scene of this episode. And I was like, this is literally Sam Winchester, like, playing himself. And I understand, and like, in my head, I was rationalizing it as, this is probably a speech Sam rehearsed. So, like, this is not off the cuff.
Yeah.
This is like Sam playing the role of Sam doing the speech. And I understand that. And that's why it feels a bit stilted. Because it's supposed to be. He's doing a speech.
Yeah.
But also, I think maybe Jared is just not having a good episode shooting.
Acting day,
Yeah, this entire episode.
Maybe so.
Yeah. Also, did you notice Sam's sideburns? Did that just show up?
I think he's had sideburns
I
for
feel like it's a lot
while,
more
but
prominent
his
this
hair's
episode.
a lot less dykey this episode than it was the last, I think.
Yeah. It's a different look. Well, Cass says, I'm gonna find God. And it's the splash screen. Oh my god, we haven't talked about the splash screen last episode. It's blood, and I don't know why.
Yeah, like floating in water. What?
Why is it here? Why was it? I mean, we always say this, like, the fucking splash screens are not, like, the designers generally don't know what's gonna happen when they design it.
I mean, there's blood in all seasons of Supernatural.
Yeah, but you know, last season was the demon blood
last
season.
season was the wings, though, so...
Yeah, I understand that, but, you know, it's fine. Yeah. But, like, how does this connect to the bigger whatever? I don't know.
I don't know. I haven't seen it.
Yeah, well, I've seen it,
I mean,
and I don't know.
Sam does have to drink a lot of blood to get Lucifer to possess him or whatever. So
yeah.
Probably that.
I forgot to mention it last episode, but I was thinking about how in season 3, you know, we start the season thinking Dean is gonna go to hell, but surely he won't, and then he does. And I feel like that does up the ante of, like, the Michael Vessel thing.
Oh, yeah. Like, what if he does say yes?
Yeah, because, like, you're thinking, oh, Dean will never say yes. Look at him. He's never gonna say yes. But you also thought he wasn't gonna go to hell, so, And also, like, I think that does, that, like, delaying Sam's reveal of being Lucifer's vessel is partly because of that, because he will become Lucifer's vessel. So you have to delay that a little bit more, and Dean won't be Michael's vessel, so it's okay to have this information out and about. So we have more like, oh, and he's trying to evade it feeling from it. Whatever.
Dean closes the door of the hospital because they were just having this whole conversation out
Door
in the open.
wide open.
Yeah, and Dean is incredibly skeptical about this, and Cass is like, yes, he isn't in heaven, he has to be somewhere. And Dean goes, try New Mexico, I hear he's on a tortilla. And Cass goes, no, he's not on any flatbread.
And he's so serious about it.
Him.
He's
I
like,
love him.
He's not on any flatbread. He's so serious about it.
Like he's frowning. He's like, Dean, like, don't be stupid.
Don't be silly, goofy. I'm being so serious right now.
Yeah. Ugh. He's so everything. And Dean says that God is either dead or he's alive but doesn't care about anyone. But Cass, you know, he insists that God is out there. And Dean continues pushing about how God doesn't care and he's a dog. And Cass goes, Enough. This is not a theological issue. It's strategic. With God's help, we can win. And Dean says that it's a pipe dream. Even though, like, you don't know who put you on that plane, Dean. Yeah. Like, it probably was God.
Yeah.
You don't know who resurrected Cass. It probably was God.
They just need Dean to protest against this so Cass can do his little line of, like, whatever the next one he says.
Yeah. Well... Right, so Cass walks closer to Dean, and now they're like definitely less than a foot apart.
Yeah.
They're very close.
They're very
together.
close. And again, camera work close up on Cass's face.
Yeah,
and
on their
Dean's face.
faces.
What the fuck were they doing? Like, honestly, sincerely.
Know.
I mean, part
Like,
of it.
Phil Secretia and Robert Singer are both, like, in on this.
Yeah. I mean,
Well, Cass goes, I killed 2 angels this week. My brothers. I'm hunted. I rebelled. And I did it. All of it for you. And you failed. You and your brother destroyed the world. And I lost everything for nothing. So keep your opinions to yourself. Okay, yeah, break down bit by bit. Okay, I killed 2 angels this week. My brothers. I want to know about this more. Because most of the angels were kept in the dark about this except for upper management. So, like,
he killed those 2 with Zechariah.
Oh, is that the ones he's talking about?
Yeah.
Okay, they're not even new ones?
Yeah.
Whatever, who cares?
Yeah.
Well, okay. I am curious about, like, where the opinion in heaven is, like, are most angels, like, they just found out about the apocalypse and they're all, like, on the side of the apocalypse?
I don't know. Yeah. I mean, the way they characterize their angels is odd and supernatural.
Yeah, you have to obey or die, so... Yeah, like, even if they didn't want to hunt Cass down, they would have to. Ugh. Well, I guess we don't know what the relationship of those 2 angels was with Cass. Like, they didn't seem to know him so well.
Yeah.
But, yeah,
I
think
mean,
he
before
does
they
feel
can look at
loyalty to
him,
all
they
of
were
them.
already stabbed through the neck, so.
It's true. That is true.
He says, I'm hunted, I rebelled.
Yes.
Well, the true things, I suppose. Is he haunted?
Yeah.
I suppose so now he is, because last episode he wasn't, because they thought he was dead, so it don't matter.
Yeah, they thought he was dead. But now they know that he is not, and
Yeah.
he just killed 2 angels. So yeah, he's probably hunted.
Yeah. And I did it, all of it, for you.
That's so funny. I love when a guy, like, is standing around in a room going, man, I hope no one makes me act on my principles and save the world right now. And then as soon as it goes bad, it's like, why'd you make me do that?
No.
Like, he's so funny.
We had this conversation. I don't know if in the podcast or not, but like Cass is so
We did
bad
not.
at analyzing his situation. Like he's so bad at introspection and self-reflection.
Yeah.
He's so bad at it. Like he thinks
Yeah,
he's
it's like you didn't do it, all of it for Dean, but now that Dean has failed and you don't want to deal with the fact that, like, I don't know, like guilt that you didn't help him enough or didn't help him early enough or whatever. You're just like this whole stopping the apocalypse thing was stupid. I can't believe you pressured me into this.
Well, yeah, Cass is so iconic. Yeah. And then,
Yeah,
as I've said
yeah.
earlier, distinctifies the you, Dean, by saying you and your brother destroyed the world. And I
Yeah.
lost everything for nothing.
Well, first off, the you and your brother destroyed the world. Like, no one is blaming the angels enough for any of this. And, like, for Cass, I get if it's, like, he's still, like, transitioning out of that job and things, and he still feels some vestiges of loyalty to heaven because of the thousands of years and shit, so I get why he wants to blame it on this one dumb man. But everyone else is just mad at Sam, and it's like, I feel like there was a larger issue at play here.
Yeah, like everyone's mad at Sam. Everybody was mad at Dean for not stopping Sam. Like, what is this? What is this?
Yeah. And, okay, like, again, for Cass, I understand, because, like, his whole thing was, like, okay, fine, I'll help you get to Sam, but, like, after that, like, I trust that you are able to finish this job. And he was, like, he did die.
Yeah.
Because of it. And then it was, like, his death would have been for nothing, because Dean's skill issue couldn't get through a door.
Yeah.
Like, you have a gun, Dean.
Yeah.
But... yeah, I don't get why everyone else is just mad at Sam and Dean.
So keep your opinions to yourself. Love that. I mean, I also want to point out the delivery of this line, which is Cass always has a hoarse voice and always, but he usually has a loud hoarse voice. But this one, he really goes down to a whisper almost. And it is very striking because it's a big room. He's walking towards Dean and he's very close to Dean. And there's two other people in this room and they're pretty far away. So I don't know, seeing this, like thinking about this from Bobby's perspective, like you're just sitting, like looking out the window.
Seeing Cass's mouth move, like, what the fuck is he saying?
No, I think he can still hear it, but like, you know, like here, like behind you, like these two people just standing so close to each other and one of them is speaking in almost a whisper and like, what the fuck is wrong with these people? And honestly, I would probably think the same.
Yeah.
Like when Bobby chimes in, cause Bobby's the next line. He's like, oh, can you just tell us what you're really here for now? I'm like, this is Bobby being like, stop being so weird, dude. And he's so real for that.
Okay, I lost everything for nothing. He already lost everything, right? Like, what was still going on for him before he betrayed Zachariah? I guess just like security.
Yeah, security, his powers. I think we always need to remember that Cass lost his powers, and that is a big deal for the show and for him. And like the you know, Doyle's reason is we can't have a superpowered angel here. Like it's gonna make the story like they'll either have to power up their enemies so much, or like, I don't know, just work around that. And so the solution they came up with was just power cast down. And I mean, it is fascinating that the way they worded it was some things I do, some things I can do, some things I can't, or something. Yeah. Which is like, well, slay. That's like, I mean, that's a very easy, like, solution. Like, wait, why can Cass do this and not this? And it's like, well, some things you can do, some things I can't do. Iconic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Iconic.
And he's looking for an amulet. And the amulet.
Yeah, no, Cass goes, like, right, because Bobby asks, what is it you want? And then Cass, staring straight at Dean while answering Bobby's question, goes, I did come for something. Like, okay, girl.
Yeah. Cass says the amulet is very rare, very powerful. It burns hot in God's presence.
Doesn't though.
Sam goes, a God EMF. And it is just so fun to me that like Sam saying a God EMF is kind of like in disbelief, kind of a joke, you know? Like, oh, really? Yeah. There's an EMF for God? Like, that's so stupid. I feel like that would be a bigger deal than whatever. And Cass just, like, sagely nods at him. And it's like, slay. Cass doesn't understand the ridiculousness of a God EMF. Yeah, Bobby's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't have it. And Cass goes, I know you don't. And then looks at Dean, and you have to remember that the camera work for the both of them is so close. Like, it's just them, and nothing else can be seen in the room. And I think part of it is that they must understand that it will look absolutely ridiculous to do, like, a faraway shot of Cass and Dean and see all the space around them. But, yeah. He looks at Dean straight in the eye, and then Dean also looks at him. And then he looks down to Dean's chest, where the amulet is, and Dean follows his eyes. And then, you know, looks back up at Dean, and Dean's like, what, this? Well, first of all, I don't think we need to talk about, like, there's no, like, bigger implication of this look or whatever. It is just extremely like, okay, what are they doing as a show? You know what I mean? Like, as a show, what are you doing? And we'll find out in Five Ever, I suppose.
Cass be intimidating or whatever, but it's not working.
I mean, it's the same deal as episode 2 last season, right? Like, they're trying to make Cass be... But that one worked, I believe. Like, Cass was intimidating and also extremely hot, and it's a weird situation. Here, it's just, Cass is whatever he is. Cass says, "May I borrow it?" Which is a fun line. And Dean says no, and Cass says, "Dean, give it to me," which is so funny. He's like, "Can I borrow it, please?" No, okay, I'll have it. Thank you very much. Dean, eventually, was like, "Okay, fine." And he takes off the amulet, gives it to Cass, and then just when Cass is about to reach for it, just Dean goes like, "Don't lose it." And yeah, Cass takes it, and Dean goes, "I feel naked." And Cass is like, "Okay, I'll be in touch." And then he disappears from the room. That's the only Cass scene this episode.
Yeah.
It is pretty iconic, though. I feel like this is a iconic Cass scene. Iconic to me.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah. I mean, I did it. All of it for you is a famous Desiel line, I believe. Is it?
Yes.
Yeah.
It should be.
It should be.
We cut to, like, Rufus. He is being an action hero. It's great. He has a gun. He's rolling under cars. He's, like, helping some guy who's bleeding and dragging him to safety and, like, tourniqueting the leg of this guy. And then, in the middle of all this chaos and all this gunfire and all this everything, he gets out his phone and speed dial calls Bobby.
How did you know it was speed dial? This is the same logic as the reflecting curly one, where it was like you saw two movements of the hand as it presses on the phone, and you're like, "That's speed dial."
Yeah, that's speed dial because they're in WUV.
They're in WUV, probably. It is nice that, like, I think the last we hear of Rufus and Bobby, they have some falling out, right? Or something. Am I misremembering?
In 421?
421, we hear of Rufus?
Again, I'll, like, kill you.
Yeah,
because Rufus calls and Bobby's like, yeah, like, if you call
Soft
again,
dirt
I'll
and
fucking
dry.
kill you. And then Rufus immediately calls again.
No, but I was talking about how in season 3, when Dean was like, "Oh, it was Bobby who sent me," Rufus was like, "Fuck off."
Yeah.
I'm not sure, actually. Is it revealed yet in the show, their backstory? Not yet, right?
No, not yet.
Okay.
I don't even know to what extent it is revealed in the show. I only know the, like, I think, like, one of the bonus journals or some shit.
Yeah.
Reveal what the situation is. It's like they did have a falling out, but they still seem to be talking fairly regularly.
Yeah. They're having a falling out for the show.
In moments of emergency, yeah, like temporarily undivorced every time you want to talk to each other.
For a real.
Like, he doesn't call who he knows is in Colorado or whatever. Like, Bobby could be, like, halfway across the country, and this is like a I'm gonna get killed now situation. He still calls Bobby
Well, he
first.
already called Ellen and Joe.
That's true. That's true.
So maybe this is a Rufus Bobby Ellen situation.
Maybe. Could be. Yeah, he dials Bobby, and Bobby has some difficulty hearing Rufus throughout, but eventually the information is conveyed that he is in River Pass, Colorado. Bobby has some difficulty hearing Rufus over the phone, but it is eventually conveyed that he's in River Pass, Colorado, and there's demons everywhere. The whole town's infested with them. He eventually gets cut off because he needs to fight some more people.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
there's this really dramatic thing where, like, Bobby's still on the phone, but Rufus has stopped talking and he can hear gunshots. And Bobby's like,
yeah. Gasp. The thing about Rufus is that he was still retired in season 3 when the demons were let out of, like, the gate to hell.
Yeah, like
a season ago. Like, a war going on, like, supposedly between hunters and demons, and everyone was on board.
I mean, how retired was he really? He did know the information and,
Well, he was like selling artifacts to people, including Bella,
This is
which
true.
is a pretty like neutral position to be taking, at least.
This is true.
But yeah, I guess in season 4 we're not clear if he's still doing field work or if he's just doing like research on omens and passing it along to Bobby. Yeah, I guess I'm just trying to figure out where his like line of like, okay, I'm gonna properly fully unretire is. I think that Bobby being like, hey, Lucifer got raised is a reasonable line to have.
I mean, also, the last time Rufus called, as you said, like, he was already calling about omens, right? So.
Yeah. I just wish we knew in detail what he's been up to. But I guess he's just been doing whatever Bobby does. Anyway, so Sam and Dean head to River Pass, Colorado, and they go to this bridge, and it is completely cracked down the middle. So they have to leave the car there.
So we go to the town that Rufus was in. And on the way to enter it, the bridge is just completely broken. I love the look of this scene. Well, first off, this is like the beginning of me being like, it looks like a season 1 or 2 thing. And various parts of this episode look like that, such as the lighting, I believe. A little bit more dark this episode, like a bit higher contrast, probably because they're just outside and we don't see them outside a lot on the daytime. And that's why I'm like, ooh, it's different. Also, the beside the rivers, beside the lake scene later. And also specifically, there's a shot from the broken bridge where it's from below. So you're looking up to the crack of the bridge and to Sam and Dean looking down. And also the Impala, which is a very, very beautiful car. And I really like the shot. I think it's super fun. But yeah, nobody can go in or out because this is like the only way in and out of the town. So yeah, the place is in lockdown. They decide to just, I don't know, like walk in. So they go in and they're both holding like a gun each. Why didn't they bring backpacks?
They do have backpacks later, don't they?
Later, Sam gets a backpack out of the backseat. Yeah. But here, they're literally just like walking two guns. Like, okay, fine. As we said, music cue, baby. And it is fun, I believe.
Were they sort of going for like a humorous thing where like everyone's missing so it kind of looks like they all got raptured, or?
Why is that humorous?
Well, okay, I thought it was humorous because of all the like scenes where they're like crouching down and then doing exaggerated shaking their head at each other. And then I feel like the song itself feels humorous because it's not like a very reverent take on going to heaven.
Yeah, it's
right?
just...
Like it's like there's like the like I'm gonna go to the place that's the best, and like I don't know, being friends with Jesus. Actually, Christian rock like is like this all the time, actually. But yeah, I don't know. It just felt it's a light-hearted vibe to the song. The acting is exaggerated and bad, or it's like bad for a drama and good for a comedy.
Yeah.
And like all the cars are empty and stuff. So I thought that they were going for like it looks like everyone got raptured, but like in a funny way.
I didn't really think about the music cue aside from like, it's fun that they have one, because I don't think we've had one for a while in Supernatural. So I don't know what the relevance of the song really is or whatever. But yeah, there's like cars are overturned, streets are empty, everything.
Sam goes to a car and turns off the radio and the song stops, which I loved.
Yeah, that was fun. Eventually, they hear a sound, and it's a gun being, like, loaded or whatever. And as they turn, it's Ellen! Hi, Ellen!
Yay. Hi, Ellen.
Ellen goes up to Dean, splashes his face with holy water. And, doesn't, Dean is like, oh, whatever. And Ellen doesn't do it to Sam?
Well, some of it hits Sam.
But
like,
still.
most of the water's directed at Dean, but, like, a good amount of it hits Sam. Enough that you'd be able to tell if the skin was sizzling.
Yeah, also, like, but, like, they should have put the, like, camera angle for the both of them and, like, have the splash be a bit more broad or whatever. We've
already seen issues with the camera angle in this episode. I think this is a continuation.
Phil Sagrisha, I thought we had something going on. What is this, Phil?
They forgot the taller tripod on set that day, so they were like, no shots of Sam this episode, I'm afraid.
They forgot it for, like, the first 2 episodes of season 5. Ellen confirms that they're not demons, so she goes and walks towards somewhere. And then they go inside. It's very guarded. It's a devil's trap.
It's like an old church.
Is it? Couldn't figure out what it was, but there's a salt line, there's a devil's trap. And as they enter, Ellen finally looks at them and, like, sincerely says, real glad to see you, boys. And then she hugs Dean. And she is
only.
like... Yeah, she hugs Dean only. And I was waiting for her to go and hug Sam, but it don't matter, I suppose. And her voice is shaky.
I mean, to some people, slapping Dean is hugging Sam.
This is true, but those people are not me. I think hugging Sam is hugging Sam. And you should give Sam a hug. He's been through a lot. Yeah, her voice is, like, shaky. I think she's trying to hold back something. I mean, she says here, like, she slaps Dean and she goes like, you guys can't even pick up a phone. What, you can't give me peace of mind? And apparently she found out that they're alive from Rufus.
There's a fun moment after she says, like, what are you allergic to giving me peace of mind? Where, like, she's been glaring at Dean mostly, and then she turns her glare at Sam, who, like, clearly had previously been kind of laughing at the fact that she slapped Dean, and he immediately is like, oh, and then schools his face into, like, a so sorry, ma'am expression.
Iconic.
Yeah.
I mean, I've talked to Helen back about how I love that when, during that episode we're in No Exit, like, when Ellen is in the car with them, Ellen's in the front seat, and Sam and Joe are in the back. So this is, I feel like, a continuation of that kind of dynamic, which I love.
Yeah.
Dean says sorry, and then they proceed with their life. Ellen opens the door to, like, the inside hall, and it's a bunch of civilians. There's so many demons, apparently. They tried to escape down, but there used to be, like, 20 of them, and now there's, like, 9. So, R.I.P.
Of course, there's, like, a pregnant woman here.
Yeah.
There's always a pregnant woman in these kinds of situations, but they actually don't do as much with her as I thought they would.
They don't. And, I mean, do they always have a pregnant woman? They have that virgin, and she was, like, they make a point of being like, and there's a virgin here. And they do.
Yeah.
Not because, like, she's a virgin, but because of the prophecy, whatever the fuck.
Or, needing a virgin's heart to stop the demons. I think there's just always a pregnant woman in, like, survival situations, so you can be like, oh no, but the pregnant woman.
Yeah.
While they're there, it's also made clear that Ellen and Joe are hunting together.
Yeah. They're hunting together, but they got separated, and that's why Ellen was out and about. Sam recommends that they get everybody guns so that they can proceed to get out better than the last time's attempt. Dean is like, there's a sporting goods outside, so they probably have guns. Let's go. Sam tells Ellen, like, okay, you stay, me and Dean will go. But Dean protests because he's saying, why don't I just go and you just stay with Ellen and teach everybody how to hold guns and stuff?
Without the guns.
Yeah, without the guns.
Dean's gonna
just
go, like, hold the air.
You just mime it. You practice. Sam says it's inefficient because you also have to look for Joe and Rufus. And you're also gonna have to get salt and guns. So, yeah, stupid as fuck. Dean's like, no, I can handle it. And Sam says, you don't want me going out there. And Dean says, I didn't say that. And Sam said, around demons. And Dean goes, I didn't say that.
I didn't say that.
And he is trying to be like, casual about it. Like, oh, I didn't say that. I didn't. And he literally did not, to be fair to him. So...
I mean, he didn't say it, but
yeah, I do appreciate how this is handled this episode.
Yeah, it's not as, it's better than it has been previously, of course.
I do think like it has a similar vibe to what Dean was like right before the rapture. It's that kind of like, okay, man, let's just. You just do your thing. But I think here, it's a bit more on the careful side than those previous ones. And we have talked about how back then it was like nice, I suppose, or at least considerate of Dean to just be like, okay, Sam, let's just do your thing, whatever. I know I can't talk to you about this, so I just won't. And here, it's a similar vibe, but because it's just a bit more complicated, I suppose.
Yeah. They leave out the part in the then sequence where Sam makes it clear that he's not going through physical withdrawal, and I wonder what the point of that was, like, leaving that part out.
Well, because they establish a different thing this episode.
Like, wouldn't it be helpful to make it clearer that, like, currently Sam isn't going through physical withdrawal and it is just that he's missing how it made him feel? Or do you feel like that's already clear enough in the episode that
I think it's clear enough, yeah. And I feel like putting that in the then sequence can be a bit, like, it's veering off of what the point of this episode is trying to make.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's veering off of the point. I think it provides more context for.
But Sam explicitly does say it at the end anyway.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I'm just trying to like, because it's like currently at this point in the episode, because I remember that Sam's not going through physical withdrawal. I think Dean's being unreasonable. Like, when I was at this point in the episode without having watched the rest of it.
Well, so Sam was addicted to demon blood.
Yeah, but, like, I feel like I was at a point where I was like, okay, well, if he's not going through physical withdrawal, then, like...
Well, of course, there's the psychological aspect of it.
Right now. I understand that there's a psychological aspect of it, but it's more like... Because later it's just, like, Sam misses how it made him feel. And I don't, like... I feel like I was in the mindset that Sam was at later, where he was, like, obviously I learned my lesson, Dean. Like, what are you talking about? So, yeah, I don't know. Well, I guess later Dean is not being unreasonable, but, like, I feel like there's an argument that Dean is being unreasonable that would be bolstered by the
and the thing is, like,
physical withdrawal reminder.
You know, the argument is, let's not put you in any situation just in case where you are exposed to demon blood in this way. And then for Sam, it's like, we have a job to do and the job requires me to be in that situation, which is the crux of the argument. Not argument, which is the crux of the separation later.
Decides to leave.
Yeah, which I do appreciate a lot. I did not expect that.
I thought it was going to be more of a fight.
Yeah,
and not like a genuinely healthy decision from both of them.
Yeah. And I mean, we talked about like how they need to separate because it will be better for them. And the way Sam interfaces with it is, we need to separate because like it's better for the world and the job. Which I think is an interesting perspective. and a way to make it realistic for Sam and Dean to do. Because you think Sam and Dean are gonna be like, it's better for us as people to sever it. Like, fuck no. So, like, it is a way to proceed in that direction in a realistic way. And also with difficult feelings, but not animosity, you know? Not pure animosity anyway.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Like, once they're out, Dean is like, oh, let's go together. And Sam's like, well, no, I can go one way and you can go the other. And Dean's like, no. And Sam's like, well, can we just be professionals about this?
Sam goes inside of, like, a grocery store to get a bunch of rock salt. And then 2 demons come in. Sam says later that they're teenagers. I could not tell that they were teenagers.
Yeah. Well,
they're absolutely played by 20-plus-year-olds.
Exactly.
Sam, like, hides for a bit, but eventually he makes a sound that sets stuff off. And one of the demons, like, comes over and tries to choke him out. And I spent all of season 4 going, I just have to remember that they forgot about exorcisms to explain why all this plot
he was
is
trying
happening.
to exercise, yeah.
Yeah, like, they didn't forget about exorcisms. He's literally trying to do an exorcism right the
He
fuck
still has
now.
the fucking exorcism chant memorized. Like,
yeah. God,
he hasn't
why
forgotten.
can't you just walk around with a tape recorder with a recording of an exorcism and play it?
Like, how loud does it need to be? How loud does an exorcism?
To hear it?
Yeah, but what if the demon is in a body of a deaf person? How's that?
Yeah, we had this.
Oh, we have had this.
And then it's like, I don't know.
Well, I don't know, and they should have figured out. They should have done a fucking study in Supernatural.
They should have.
They should have made Crowley possess different people and been like, okay, listen to this. Are you getting exercised? No? Okay. Next one.
Yeah. He stabs one of the demons to death using Ruby's knife.
On the stomach. And then the other one, the neck.
The other one in the neck.
You know, they don't do the buzz, the like electric blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, I didn't notice that.
I noticed it. And I was like, that is so odd. Did they just miss? Like,
so you didn't know that it was war?
No. I mean, I knew it was war, but I didn't.
Danica knew it was war.
No, I knew it was war. I didn't remember how
there was no demons.
Demon thing.
You thought it was interesting that they decided to give you that hint in the episode.
Yeah, I think that was fine.
Yeah,
because I was like, oh, the 2 thoughts I had was, did Supernatural editing team miss this? And 2 was like, was that Ruby's knife? Because they only show that it's Ruby's knife explicitly after the second stab, right?
Right.
So I was like, is that just a random knife? What is going on? But no, it is Ruby's knife. And I was like, interesting. And then later when Joe was there and I figure out that like, oh, there's no demons here. It's like, wait, is the like the electric shock demon thing visible to Sam and Dean or only to us?
I think it is typically visible to Sam.
It should be. Because well, why did Sam not notice? He was preoccupied. He has other things on his mind.
He was preoccupied with not dying.
One-track mind, as War said later, I think.
So after they both fall, there's like a big old puddle of blood on the floor and then some blood on the knife. And Sam is just looking at the blood. And he's clearly thinking about having a little lick of it.
Yeah, he puts it on his finger.
Yeah, he takes his thumb and he wipes a little bit of it, like, off on his thumb. And he's, like, looking at it. But then, when it seems like he is about to lick it, Dean comes in. If Dean had been a little slower, like, they would have figured out that it wasn't demons by Sam licking the blood and then going, I don't feel shit. So Dean comes in and calls out for Sam, and Sam is just, like, very awkwardly standing there with the knife and, like, hiding his thumb and being like, well, I can't wipe this off on my shirt. What the fuck do I do?
Yeah.
And then they just both are just sort of standing there looking at the scene before them.
Yeah.
Inside, Sam is helping people load up their guns and shit. Dean is also doing that. He's talking to some younger guy who knows his way around the gun, and apparently he was a soldier in Iraq. He goes, "Takes one to know one. Where'd you serve?" I don't think it takes one to know one. I think that if you see someone being good at a gun, you can assume things.
I didn't.
And then
I was like, wow, this guy, like, I don't know, he's good. Good for him. He's a hunter. Like, he hunted deer or whatever.
He could hunt deer and stuff, too. Yeah. So he goes, "Where'd you serve?" And Dean goes, "Hell," which is incredibly funny because I think, like, what they're trying to say is that hunting is like being a soldier. But what Dean did in hell was be tortured and then torture people, which I think is a better representation of what the U.S. military does than hunting.
This is Dean providing commentary on the United States of military imperialism.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Dean says lower the defense budget and put more of it into education and healthcare. Sam is sort of sitting by himself sadly, and Dean comes over and asks what's wrong. And Sam goes, "It's just at the store. Those demons were possessing teenagers."
Wrong.
I mean, I had to slit some kid's throat.
No.
Huh?
Wrong.
Those were 30-year-olds.
Those were 30 or 40-year-old men.
What if we find the actors and they were actually teenagers and were just being really mean?
Well, I mean, to be fair, like, it's not like a fake situation. It's just the built type thing. And they are very padded with jackets, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, like, later, there is, like, there's a chimney thing, right? In this episode.
What?
A chimney thing.
Oh, yeah, like they're burning something, yeah.
And I did wonder, like, wait, how cold is it right now?
I mean, I guess cold, so.
Yeah, I guess cold. It is crazy how, like, it doesn't look it, like the sun is up and there's no snow. I'm sorry, I have a very limited idea of what cold is supposed to look like.
Oh, yeah, Colorado climates and such. Yeah, no, sometimes it is very cold even when the sun is shining. It's quite sad.
Yeah, miserable. Or is it? Is it miserable?
It is. I mean, it does make sense that Sam is not telling Dean the specific thing that he is bothered about. Just because, you know, shit happened in 421 and he still doesn't know that the voicemail wasn't Dean.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also he does believe this. Yeah. This may actually be the primary coherent thought on his mind right now.
Which one?
I wish that I could have saved those teenagers' lives.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like, he could definitely back-rationalize that moment with the thumb as just, like, I killed these kids. Myself.
Yeah.
Or, yeah, I killed these kids. I felt bad. I was looking at the blood out of guilt over how it was blood from kids.
Yeah.
And the thumb thing was just me trying to test myself to, like, see where I'm at. And I didn't lick it, so there. So, yeah, I do think he's probably repressing anything related to his addiction right now. Yeah, sorry, Sam. Yeah, Dean says that he didn't have a choice. And Sam goes, I know. It used to be like, I just wish I could save people like I used to. Sorry, Sam. Well, if you had a little, like, tape recorder and you recorded an exorcism on it, you could also save people like you used to.
And you can even experiment on the speed, the decibels even. Like, you can do whatever you want forever.
Yeah, and I guess it's like if the tape recorder gets smashed, it's kind of annoying because you have to get a new one.
Get an MP3 player.
I think it's okay.
Sam has an MP3 player.
Well, he doesn't want his sick tunes to be on the same device that the demons are gonna go after.
He puts it on shuffle and it's like Fall Out Boy, whatever, fucking demon exorcism spell.
In later
another
season
Fall Out Boy
Supernatural,
song.
Sam can't afford a Spotify premium account, so whenever he tries to exorcise a demon, like it's on like a 15-song playlist that he can only skip 5 songs on or whatever, so sometimes it doesn't even get to the exorcism.
And this is like a main preventer of their, hunting activities.
Success.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This
exactly.
is like, when, every time they're attacked and you think they're about to get beaten or whatever, and then something changes.
Yeah.
And the thing that changes
and it's because
sound.
you're reaching the end of the ad for the get 30 minutes ad free on Spotify.
Exactly. Like the entire time the tense is like, Sam going, the ad is not ending. So true.
Yeah. I mean, Supernatural could probably get more money through that by having ads directly inside the show via the Spotify app.
Exactly.
Okay. Right, we have said during season 4. Haven't you said during season 4? Isn't it kind of irresponsible of them to not let Sam continue having powers?
Yeah.
Given how helpful it is to hunting. I can see that argument still. Like, okay, so like the negative consequences are that if he doesn't have it for a long time, he goes through withdrawal.
Yeah.
And that feels bad. And that if he has too
much healed,
his body
demon,
gets
blah, blah,
kind
blah.
of fucked up. So, like there is a way to do it in moderation. Like, he didn't even want to drink that much. Like, Ruby made him drink the nurse. Like, it wasn't that, like, he couldn't help himself and he drank the nurse. So, like,
yeah.
he didn't, like, get to that level of blood out of his own desire to. Like, I still think that it could be fine if they worked out a system and if Dean was someone that he could trust to talk to about this stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that is not the situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there is, like, a point where he's like, I feel like I want the demon blood too much right now, and I'm, like, at the point where I want someone else to stop me, but I don't know if I'd be able to stop myself, so here are the steps that you, Dean, should take.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. Like, that is something you could set up if Dean was a person you could trust with that kind of partnership, and he's not.
Yeah, it's just that Dean already has the judgment of it. He's already doing a moral judgment of everything.
Yeah, because it is, like, something that Sam probably couldn't do by himself, but, is there anybody in the world of Supernatural right now who could be, like, Sam's, like, harm reduction drug buddy?
No idea.
Well, in the beautiful world I've created in my mind where Sam Chuck is a thing, perhaps Chuck could.
You know what? You're right. You are right. Chuck can do it.
Thank you.
I mean, Chuck, when they had that conversation in 418, it was very surprising to finally have someone talk to Sam in that way.
I mean, he did also say sucking blood, you gotta know that's wrong, but I think he could come around easier than Dean could.
He could come around, and also even back then, he was already, like, extending understanding to Sam, yeah?
Yeah, he was, like, listening to his explanations.
Yeah, and actually engaging
shit.
with it, like, seriously.
Oh, Sam Chuck, the ship you could have been.
And Sam's, again, Chuck different from Chuck God, but it would be incredibly funny, or, like, I don't know, maybe meaningful to Sam if, like, he's always like, and God hates me or whatever, and I pray all
your
the
boyfriend
time,
is God.
and literally his boyfriend is God.
Yeah, God bless.
Literally.
And, Dean proves himself as someone who cannot be Sam's partner in this, because as soon as Sam says, I wish I could save people like I used to, Dean goes, what, you mean when you were all hopped up on demon blood? Like, I think Sam's sentiment makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, you can just be like, yeah, like, there was something that was lost, but we've both decided that this is, like, a better, you not having demon blood is better for you health-wise right now, but you can still mourn what you lost.
Yeah.
But yeah, whatever. And Sam goes, I didn't say that. This is their favorite sentence this season, or this episode at least, for both of them. Ellen decides that she is going to head out because Joe's out there, and she says, you guys just get these 9 people out of this room, let's go. And Sam says that he'll go with Ellen. Dean holds him back and asks if they can talk privately. And he's like, what, you're gonna go out there again? And yeah, I think the idea is that Sam subconsciously is kind of trying to encounter demons again, but that's not really what's consciously on his mind right now. So
Is
I guess
that the
Dean
idea?
has picked up. I think so, because in his later speech he keeps saying that I keep thinking that my intentions are good, but I think that underneath, I do want to have that feeling again.
When you watched this the first time, you thought that in this scene?
When I watched this the first time, no, I think this is in retrospect because of how Sam puts a narrative over his actions this episode. Yeah, when I watched this the first time, it's well, yeah, Ellen shouldn't be going out there alone. So, it's a dick move to go, Dean can go with you, so you volunteer yourself. Dean's what, you're gonna go out there again? And Sam's well, yeah, shit's happening. And Dean says that he'll go. Yeah, Dean offers to go, but Sam says hey, no, I'll go. And Dean goes, why's it got to be you? And Sam says, oh, that's right, I forgot. You think I'll take one look at a demon and suddenly fall off the wagon, as if after everything I haven't learned my lesson. Aw, Sam. Yeah, I mean, this, yeah, he does believe this currently, but, the thing about, feeling incredibly guilty about leaving about letting Lucifer out into the world is that sometimes you will probably want to escape by feeling powerful and cool again. So, using, a guilt-based mechanism to stop drinking demon blood isn't the way, but it seems to be what he's trying to leverage against himself. And yeah, it won't work. Sorry, Sam.
And I don't know, there is, I said, what Dean is essentially trying to do is just lessen
prevent Sam from being in
a situation where it could happen. Which,
yeah. And I think that makes sense. I wish that they had more of a discussion.
I wish they leaned in more to it, because the way it is presented to us feels more like Dean doesn't trust Sam fundamentally.
I mean, that is how it is, though. That's what he said at the end of last episode.
Yeah, but I there is a difference, I feel like.
Yeah, I think there is a difference, but I think that Dean is operating more off of I don't trust Sam.
There's a difference between thinking that Sam is purposefully trying to get himself into a situation where he can drink demon blood because he wants to. And it may happen if Sam is left unattended. I trust you. Not trusting someone can have levels to it. I don't trust you to because what Dean has been saying,
situation, be able to control yourself or whatever,
versus you're going to actively seek it out.
Yeah, I think that Dean does think Sam's going to actively seek it out.
I don't think so.
I think that Dean being Dean literally goes, well, have you, when Sam says I've learned my lesson. That is that means you're deliberately doing it.
No. I mean,
yes,
you can learn your lesson and still be put in a situation and do the thing.
Yeah, no, but I'm saying Dean asks, well, have you? Dean thinks that Sam hasn't learned his lesson, which means that he thinks that Sam is actively seeking out demons to drink the blood
That's not a direct line. That's not a direct line. You can...
I think it is.
What Sam is saying is You think I'll take one look at the demon and suddenly fall off the wagon. He's not saying that, like, you think I'm actively seeking it out. He's saying, you think if I was put in that situation, I'll fall back into it. And Dean was like, well, maybe you will. Which is a different line than, like, you're actively seeking it out.
Learning my lesson is, like, a different thing. Like, learning my lesson is, like, I don't know. I do consider, like, I've learned my lesson as, like, like, my thoughts and stuff are constructed in a certain way where I wouldn't actively seek it. I don't know. Like, I understand what you mean, but I do think that the well have you, it's not like, because, I think it's more than saying, like, I've learned my lesson, connecting that with if I see a demon, I'll fall off the wagon, is, like, making it seem like it's more of a conscious choice than I would characterize it as. So Dean's saying, well, have you, makes it seem like he's saying, Sam, you're making conscious choices to drink demon blood.
If we see it as, like, you know, it's a slippery slope, right? And, like, I think, well, have you here is kind of like, are you aware of, like, the first step you're taking? And, like, do you understand that that's the slope? Like, I really, really, really do not think Dean is suspicious of Sam because he thinks Sam is actively seeking it out at all. That's not the vibe of any of the scenes.
I mean, I do think that Dean does have that form of thought, though.
Can you provide?
I don't know. I get that vibe. I think that when Sam's like, I'll go with Ellen, and Dean's like, no, I'll do it. And Sam's like, no, I can't. And then Dean goes like, oh, like, why's it gotta be you? Like, it is, like, asked combatively. It is asked in a, like, what are you trying to do, Sam, way.
I just didn't read it that way, I suppose.
Okay. Well, I feel like I did probably because, I mean, Dean does. Okay, you said that there are different forms of not trusting Sam.
Yeah.
I think I read the I don't trust you at the end of 501 as more of a, like, I think you
well,
are
it's
going
because
to actively...
in season 4, something that Dean kept on, like, trying to... It's like you don't know the difference between right or wrong anymore. And so that's kind of like where this idea is stemming from. That, like, once you are put in the situation, you will find ways to justify it again. Which is how he sees, like, the entirety of season 4 Sam's
he also
arc.
thinks that Sam is deliberately putting himself in the situations, which is why
there's a difference between like, putting yourself deliberately in the situation and then...
And, deliberately having the end goal of drinking demon blood.
Yeah.
Okay. I think I get what you
Sorry,
mean,
I'm extremely defensive about this. Yeah.
I do feel like it gets a little hair splitty at that point, though, because it's like, if Dean is like, I think Sam's deliberately putting himself in situations where there's a demon because... I don't know, like in a 407 situation where Dean's like, don't use your powers, man. And Sam is like, I shan't use my powers. But then Sam is like, oh, but Dean, you stay behind and help the kids at the party who are trapped inside the mausoleum, and I'll go after the demon. And, like, the idea is that part of it is so that Sam will eventually be faced with Samhain and, like, perhaps need to use his powers. And, like, the idea is that Sam did set that up, kind of, because he does think of himself as the one who can defeat Samhain better, and if that means that eventually I'll have to tap into my power source, then I will. I feel like, I think that's sort of what Dean thinks is going on here, and I think that is similar enough to just trying to drink demon blood in general that... I don't know. I wouldn't separate those two thought patterns too much.
I think it is very separate. Using my power versus drinking demon blood. Very separate ideas. Sam intentionally going into a scenario where he already has the power and, like, has the upper hand versus the demon blood. Versus drinking demon blood in this very specific episode incredibly different.
Well, I mean, he'd be drinking the demon blood so that he can get the demons out of the people without killing them, though. Like, the end goal, like, for him consciously is, like, the power that helps people. Like, yeah, he's like, consciously for him, he misses being able to save people when he was fighting demons. So it is like, I would drink the blood so that I'd be able to kill demons without killing the vessels.
It's just, I don't know, the way this is worded by Sam. He doesn't think Dean thinks that.
I mean, I don't know what he thinks that Dean thinks. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what he thinks I don't trust you at the end of last episode means fully. But I feel like for Dean it does include like a level of intentional deception or whatever.
Well, okay. I vehemently disagree, but okay, let's move on.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I mean, because the I don't trust you is like because of Sam lying to him a lot last season, right? Like, that's like a component of it.
Yeah. But the vibe of this season, as you said, is incredibly different. And also the vibe of season 4 before 420 is also completely different. So
yeah, it is hard to say. It depends on what is more prominent in your mind from season 4, I suppose.
Yeah, well,
right, as I said, Dean goes, well, have you? And then Sam slams him into a wall.
It is fun. He pushes him.
It is fun.
Like, he doesn't slam him into the wall. He pushes him in the way that my sister has pushed me against the wall, and it, like, knocked all of the air out of my body. And I was just standing there like, I can't breathe. So iconic of him, honestly.
Truly so iconic, and also so iconic. I guess Sam shoving him is meant to be like Sam does not have as much control over himself as he thinks he does. But also that was a pretty shitty question. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, to Sam, this is Sam not having as much control as he does. Because, like, Sam always thinks about everything in that way. But, like, to me, it's like, yeah, that's probably a proper reaction to the question, you know?
Yeah, like, we all saw 421. I think you should be able to shove Dean as much as you want.
Yeah, but to Sam, it's like, and I'm losing control. Oh, God.
Yeah, I don't trust myself. Like, no, like, you should probably shove Dean more, I think. That if I had one note on you as a character, Sam, it's, like, not enough shoving Dean.
Yeah.
But
you should slap Dean just like Ellen. This is so mean. Exactly. Well, they should stop hitting each other, but go for it.
Yeah, they should both stop hitting each other, I guess.
And
they should do that by not seeing each other ever again.
Literally every 2 months. No, not ever again. Every 2 months.
Fine, every 2 months. They can have a Zoom call every 2 months, and then every 2 months, Dean has to buy a new phone because he, like, throws it at the ground at some point.
Exactly.
Everyone sort of sees this, and they all look over like, huh. And Sam, at this point, he's, like, kind of teary and angry, and he goes, if you actually think I... And then, right, he cuts himself off, and then he leaves. Okay, I think part of why I'm reading what Dean thinks as what I read it as is that Sam is very hurt. And I think that, like, I just feel like if you were put in that situation, you might end up drinking demon blood. It's that hurtful of a thing?
It is very hurtful to be thought of as someone who doesn't have self-control.
Like in that, okay, I guess people's views around addiction were different during this time, so Sam would take that as like a Dean blames me morally, personally, and Dean also takes it as I blame Sam morally, personally in this situation, so yeah, okay. I guess this level of hurt makes sense for the time period.
By the way, the door's completely open this entire conversation.
Yes.
mini brawl. So like Ellen is just seeing all this iconic. Like Dee was like, Sam, let's talk outside, and then just completely is revealed to the entire room anyway. Yeah. Like so true.
So true. Yeah, Ellen sees that and she's like, "Was
Okay.
it like a girl?" Like, Ellen, what?
Yeah, but yeah, so Sam and Ellen are off to the world, and Sam is being interviewed on like what the fuck happened.
He's being interviewed on the Ellen show.
Exactly. She said like, what happened? Some girl come between you or something, which is like a Ruby thing. Like it's supposed to make you think of Ruby.
Oh, it does? I literally did not think of that at all.
Oh, I thought about it immediately.
I was just like, what a silly thing to think. Next. But you're right. They do put in the then sequence. You chose a demon over your own brother. So, yeah, I guess it's like, I don't consider Ruby to be a main part of this. I consider it to just be a Dean, Sam, and Bobby situation. But, yeah.
Yeah.
I guess so. I guess Ruby did come between them.
Yeah, but Sam evades and instead asks about Joe and Ellen and how they're hunting and how, oh, didn't you not want Joe to hunt? And Ellen said, well, she's gonna do it anyway, so might as well she do it with me. Which is what I said about drinking in that one episode where you were like, that is morally incorrect.
Okay. I didn't think that Adam wanted it. Like, the situation I was imagining was John peer pressuring him into drinking. Obviously, if Adam was interested in starting to try drinking, it is more responsible to do it with your parents there. I just forgot that 15-year-olds want to drink.
Yeah.
Or wasn't aware, but now I am.
Yeah, well, they look into the distance and there's a house with a chimney and it is going. Chimneys are so fun. I wish to see a chimney in real life at some point. I do.
It'll happen for you one day. I believe in it.
Yeah, the fireplace thing is fun. Like, there's just a hole in the wall where fire happens. Good for the wall, I suppose. So, as they go forward, they're like, you know, sneaking around. They see a window and there's a person in there who is a demon. So it has black eyes, which it is fascinating that like the way they do it here is like the demon just has black eyes all the time.
Yeah, like no one thinks that's weird.
Yeah, no one thinks that's weird. Well, first of all, it is mostly civilians who are doing the everything. So yeah. But I mean, there are 5 hunters here and they're still like, Sam says, oh, demons don't get cold. Makes you wonder what they're burning. And later on, we figure out that these are not demons, so they literally are just trying to stay warm. Suddenly, Ellen gets grabbed and attacked. And the person attacking her is Joe, except she has demon eyes. Like, Joe is saying, like, give me my mom back, you black-eyed bitch, you evil skank. And Ellen is looking at this like, oh, don't you hurt her, don't you? Oh, but no, like I did feel emotional about Ellen and Joe. Oh, and they're going to die this season.
They sure
It's so miserable. Like, I know we see a lot of them, but we see nothing of them, and then they're gonna be dead.
Yeah.
We see more of them than we do other characters in Supernatural of this caliber. That's true. We also see nothing of them, so.
Yeah, people really like Joe, so I thought she would be in more episodes of the show.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Who else do you think of as people really like in the show?
Like side characters that people really like? I guess Charlie. So Joe, Charlie. I would say Rowena is very beloved. Yeah. I don't think Eileen, obviously, but Eileen is a main and
Rowena is a main character to me. Charlie was a main character, I should say.
Really?
I mean, we're going fast and loose with the definition of main character right now. But yeah, like she was present enough. She was in 7 to 10.
Right.
Like that's substantial. And, Rowena literally... I don't think I've ever met a single person who's watched Supernatural with the Rowena story, so since season 10, and not like Rowena. Like, Rowena is, I think, one of the most universally beloved characters in that everybody who knows her likes her.
Yeah.
Oh, I miss Rowena! Anyway, Ellen was able to escape. But Sam wasn't, and he got hit over the head. And it's Rufus.
By Rufus.
Yeah, he's in there also. Well, Sam wakes up. He's in the fucking house. There's a fireplace. I love a fireplace. Yeah. Well, Rufus has tied him up and is now talking to him of like, you're not gonna get out. Yeah, you're not gonna get out of those. You're stuck there. And then, Joe pours holy water at Sam. Except it doesn't sizzle. Pours salt into Sam's mouth. Like both of them, they pour salt into Sam's mouth. Doesn't matter. Rufus is trying to exercise Sam. Didn't work. And Sam is like... I was a little bit annoyed about Sam's communication strategy this episode. He's like, no, listen to me. Listen.
It's like they can hear you already. Just say the sentences.
Just say, I'm not a demon. It's war.
He does say that later.
Yeah, but like he was still like, I'm not a demon. Please believe me. Please listen to me. Like you can just explain, I'm not a demon. I don't think anyone's a demon. I think we are hallucinating that other people are demons because I think you're a demon. You have black eyes to me. Like that is so straightforward.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know. It's just...
Yeah, it's not like he's being tortured that much. Like, it's just some water and salt.
I mean, the salt is probably pretty bad.
I guess one could try to Doyleist it by being like... Or not Doyleist it. Whichever one it.
Watsonian it.
Like, Watsonian it by being like, oh, but Sam just feels so guilty about the Lucifer thing that it's hard for him to try to ask for mercy from people he feels he failed.
There was a part here when, when Rufus was saying like, "Oh, you evil," and I was like, "What? Does Sam think here that like they're doing
like,
this
does
because
Sam think that like Bobby told Rufus about Lucifer and Rufus is just taking it out on him?"
Like,
yeah,
Ellen was a bit odd with Sam, so I think that is a reasonable stance of like, oh, maybe Joe, Ellen, and Rufus know. And Ellen is a bit
Ellen
upset.
Doesn't know.
No, but
she asks if there was a girl, like,
oh yeah.
So like, and Sam deliberately hides from her that it was because of Lucifer. He's just like, oh, regular stresses of the job.
Yeah. Well, I did think that like maybe Sam thinks Rufus is mad at him.
I think that Rufus knows.
Yeah.
Because he and Bobby are besties. Worsties, everything in between.
Yeah. Maybe the demon that possessed Bobby called Rufus first.
Yeah.
To gossip even. And to reconcile and to undivorce.
Mm-hmm.
So Ellen comes back. And she is, devastated. She's just... It's obviously Sam's not with her. And Dean is like, oh no. And she just sits down. She doesn't say anything. And Dean starts heading out to, like, go look for Sam. But then he changes his mind. And he's like, okay, I need to actually save these people instead of prioritizing Sam. And later, we understand that a part of this is like, well, of course, Sam is in trouble. But also, like, Sam is with the demons. And, like, he does say later, right? Like, I spent more time worrying about you than the actual case. So yeah, this is Dean choosing to. It's just an odd leap. Like I don't think that this like when I first watched this, I didn't think that was well, I didn't think one that it was like specifically because Sam is around demons, or two.
Oh yeah, I didn't think that either.
Or two that it's any different from how they have acted before. It literally in Croatoan, Dean was like, okay, let's just double suicide. Like, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Like, yeah, no, he's acting like this is a new thing.
You've always been like these.
In fact, it's like less of a thing now because you're able to recognize the feeling for what it is and then focus on saving the civilians. You're actually in a better place regarding like hunting and saving people and not worrying about Sam. Like, come on, man. Also, wait, what do you mean it's because Sam's around demons that...
That's what he says later.
Really? What did he say?
He's like, I spend more time worrying about you because of this thing than whatever.
Did he say because of this thing?
But it's assumed because Sam was like, I'm leaving because I'm of the demon blood.
About doing the job right.
And he's more worried about Sam.
It could just be a general worry.
It is a general... Okay, here's the thing. It is a general worry, but I don't think... Again, like, the supernatural characters are not good at figuring out what the fuck they're feeling and why. So...
Yeah.
Like...
So he's saying...
So he's thinking now, he's attributing the worry for Sam now as, like, specifically because of the demon blood instead of how he just lived his entire life so far.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, if anything, yeah, I feel like before we got to that end part, when I saw this scene and Dean deciding to go back, like, I was like, are they showing that Dean doesn't love Sam as much anymore? Because it's like literally normal for Dean to like ditch everybody and go after Sam. So like, this is like the deliberate not ditching everyone and going after Sam. Like, I was like, is it like he doesn't care about Sam's life that much anymore?
Yeah, but no, I read it immediately as like, this is self-sacrificial because he's putting the many strangers versus his family.
Yeah, but I guess just because they haven't really set up Dean's arc regarding saving people well enough that it was clear what they were going for until the end when Dean narrativizes it.
Yeah. You know, it's crazy because pretty much I think most of Supernatural we've had similar opinions on everything. And like, I think the halfway through season 4 is when the divide has started happening on how we are with things. But yeah. I think because like so much of Supernatural, well, first of all, it's so long, it's so arduous. You will pick and choose what you remember. Just fundamentally, that's just how memories work. So like, what you gain from in the past episodes is gonna be handpicked by what has stuck out to you, and different things stick out to different people.
Yeah.
This is, you know, like there was in SP and Tumblr, there's like an argument about the same thing every 2 months, right? Just like Sam and Dean in the ideal universe where they only speak to each other every 2 months. But yeah, every 2 months, same argument. And it's like, we were like, oh, we should finally decide once and for all. And it's like, well, you should never. Because the whole point is that it's different every time, and you can make literally any single argument, and like you can probably make a case for it as long as you argue well enough, and that's the fun of it.
Yeah, there's a passage you reblogged where Sam calls Dean a genius.
Yeah.
And the point of it is like,
why are we still having
think Dean is stupid. Like, why are we still having this argument? Well, it's because in other episodes, Sam does look surprised when Dean says he's read a book.
Literally.
Like, both of these things are true. Like, the show just contradicts itself.
If like a different person made a post of like, and Sam does think Dean is stupid, I'll reblog that too and be like, literally.
Yeah, like there's dialogue of Sam thinking Dean is stupid and dialogue of Sam thinking Dean is smart. And honestly, when I saw that passage where he calls Dean a genius, I was like, OOC. So yeah, exactly. Sam should act exactly like that one fan fiction that I think you read to me and I insulted and then we deleted, or maybe we kept it in. I'm not actually sure. No, I think we kept it in, which I feel kind of bad about because I thought we had a rule that we weren't gonna insult like fan work directly in like Spotify episodes. Well, it is what it is. So it be so it is even. So, like, Sam is still in the basement. Or, I don't know, I think he's in the living room. So, Sam is still with, Joe and Rufus. And the two other hunters are, like,
talking about, okay, so what's actually happening? Why is nothing working? What kind of demons are this? I don't know. And Sam is doing his like, no, please, listen. Something's not right. You can, please. It's so annoying. Sam, just fucking dictate your thought process. Just listen to me. Like, okay. And if they say no, will you just shut up? Like, what's happening?
Like, okay, I guess just keep going then. Whoops, sorry.
Just keep force feeding me salt? Like, hello?
Aziraphale, something's wrong with the ball. Aziraphale, we have to talk.
Literally, that's what Sam is doing. He saw Good Omen season 2 and he was like, this is a terrible season. I'm gonna recreate it beat for beat.
And, well, I guess the important thing in that scene is that he sees Roger, who was one of the survivors in the church as well.
Oh, yeah, and he sees, like, Kim twist his ring or whatever.
Well, yeah, we see him, like, behind the door, and he makes, like, a little shh sound at Sam and then twists his ring, yep. And I think that's when Rufus and Joe, like, more strongly see Sam with black eyes again or some shit.
Yeah.
Back in the church, Dean and Ellen are strategizing. Ellen says, like, you know, one of the demons is in Joe, and we have to get it out without hurting her. And then she goes, it called me a bitch. And Dean goes, Bruce a little easy, don't you think? Shut the fuck up. Like, shut the fuck up, Dean. Oh,
Dean is so annoying.
He's so annoying. Imagine this. Like, I'm worried about my daughter because she's possessed by a demon, and if we try to get it out, we could end up killing her. And she's the only person I have left after Ash died and after my husband died, and I didn't want her to come on this hunt anyway because I've wanted her to stay safe, but now we're in the apocalypse, and now that's not an option anymore, and I failed in my duty to keep her safe. And, like, even if she literally was just hurt by a demon in her daughter's body calling her a bitch, I think that makes sense. It's like Joe would never do that, and that, like, hurt to hear that come out of her mouth.
And it's like, it's not, like, okay, let's pretend that this is not a demon, like, black-eyed bitch is actually what she's talking about. Like, it's just, as you said, like, oh, Joe just called her a bitch. Like, you can read between the lines, Dean. Obviously, that's not the main concern here. Like, obviously, the main concern is Joe is possessed. And this is like a roundabout way of talking around it, of like trying to express like it's so fucked up without explicitly saying that. And like, Dean.
Yeah. Like, seeing like Joe not herself was really disturbing to me or whatever.
Yeah.
And Dean's just like, PC culture has gone too far.
This is the future leftist swamp or whatever, yeah.
Of course you have blonde hair and pronouns. Like, God.
I mean, it's because the only way Dean knows how to communicate is to, one, not communicate, or to look directly into the camera and say everything he's feeling and all the themes and motifs. And this is where we are now.
Yeah. And it's just like, bitch is just a normal word, Ellen. Like, I just say that. Like, why do you have an issue with what I say, Ellen? Like, shut up. Whatever. So Ellen goes like, no, that's not what I meant. It called me a black-eyed bitch. Like, this is some weird kind of demon where, like, the holy water and the salt doesn't work. And Joe's like, she has an anti-possession charm. Like, this is not a typical demon possession case. Dean's like, the only thing I can think of to do is call Bobby or Sam.
Well, why can't they call Bobby?
Goes, well,
there's no lines.
All you got's me. Yeah, Sam says that there's no signal when they come to the town.
Okay.
But yeah, like, if they could call Bobby, I'm sure there's lore that he could pick up.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ellen says, all you got's me and all I got's you, so let's figure it out. And, so apparently the omen that Rufus came to town about was something happened with water. apparently the rain polluted the entire river. And then another weird thing that happened is that there was a shooting star that was really big last Wednesday. And, like, because I haven't seen this episode, I was like, oh my god, is an angel doing all of this? Like, was the shooting star a fallen angel? Is the pregnant woman pregnant with an angel fetus? What's happening?
She was pregnant
for 1 week. The last time there was a shooting star, it was Anna's, like conception or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, there was no evil angel fetus inside of the pregnant woman, causing everyone to think that they were demons. Sad. Yeah, we'll save that shit for season 13 or whatever. When is there's an Nephilim in season 12?
Season 12 is when Kelly is pregnant.
Lily Sunder? Oh, yeah, that too.
Yeah. And Lily Sunder is there too. Well, yeah, anyway, let's proceed.
When we're 50 years old, we'll get to watch it.
Exactly.
So, Dean pulled out the Bible, and he finds a passage from Revelation that goes, "And there fell a great star from heaven, burning like a torch, and it fell upon the river, and the name of the star was Wormwood, and many men died." These omens are preludes to the 4 horsemen, and then Dean asks which one rides the red horse, and the pastor says war, because apparently when they were coming in, I did not notice this at all, but there was like a really nice, untouched red car on Main Street. So Dean puts it all together, and he's like, well, if War is a dude, and he's here, maybe he's messing with our heads. War is not a dude. War goes by the name Carmine Zwiegeber, and she's a war correspondent for World Weekly News, and she's incredibly misogynistic and misogynistically written. I don't know who the fuck this guy is.
Yeah.
So everyone in the town thinks the other side is demons, and we're all just killing each other. Yep. And while all this is happening, the pastor who's in the church at the end, he goes, wait, back up. It's the apocalypse? And Dean goes, sorry, Padre. And that's that scene. They really don't do much about Sam learning that he killed 2 teenagers for real.
Yeah. It like, I was thinking about, like, how is this town gonna fucking recover? There's, like, first of all, there's, like, 7 of them left. And
yes.
all of them have killed each other, so...
Yes.
And you can't even be like, and I was possessed and they were possessed, whatever. Like, they weren't. That must be so horrible.
Yeah, it must be indeed. And also the bridge is fucked. How are they getting, like, I mean, I guess they're getting out by, like, walking across it and then finding a car elsewhere. But, yeah it's gonna be a while before they can get to therapy.
Yeah.
So now we're back to Sam tied up. The Roger guy, the guy who was there earlier, he comes in and Sam asks, who the hell are you? In the same way that just the 7 deadly sins being just some guy was incredibly boring. This guy is also, like, boring as fuck.
Yeah. I mean, okay, like, what are the
famine
4?
Later is a little more fun. Okay,
famine is interesting.
War, famine,
pestilence.
Death, and pestilence. Yeah.
Death, of course, is a very iconic supernatural character.
Yes.
Pestilence, is probably the episode where Cass was like, I took a bus, which is the only thing I remember from it. So, I don't know. It's probably not that, like, the pestilence himself is probably not that prominent. Famine is the burger episode.
Yes.
Yeah, that's it, I suppose.
Yeah.
Cass! I'm thinking of Cass eating that burger and the implications. Well, anyway.
Real. The shrimpplications, even.
Exactly.
301. He had to have seen all the reviews that were like, it was fucking boring to make the deadly sins like just some random person. And then Eric Kripke as showrunner was still like, I think let's make the 4 horsemen just some person and also not even give them fun costumes.
Well,
like,
I mean, first of all, Supernatural has never given anyone a fun costume ever.
Yeah.
Number 2, I do think that having War specifically be just a random cocky guy appropriate versus, say, Pestilence and Famine and Death, who are more distinct. More different.
Okay. Alright. I guess I'll hold off judgment until I see the other ones.
I mean, the other ones are also not that impressive, unless we're talking about best,
I am judging right now. It's bad.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay, so, yeah, he's just this random cocky guy. He goes like, oh yeah, you caught me, I popped into watch. I can hustle like that. And he does like a little wheels turning dance thing when he says I can hustle like that. I'm not sure exactly what this is. So he took over the countenance of real Roger, who is dead. And Sam asks again, who are you? And he says, here's a hint. I was in Germany, then in the Middle East. I was in Darfur when my beeper went off. Okay, so they're saying that this guy did Nazis? Like, that's what they're going for? Huh. Okay. And then, okay, I think the fact that he starts with Germany, right? So it's like, I'm like in the country where the bad guys are.
Yeah.
And then he's like, I was in the Middle East. And then Darfur in 2009.
Yeah.
Faced several airstrikes by Israel. So that's, I guess, Supernatural is taking a side in these more recent conflicts that makes sense for Supernatural. Cool.
I mean,
like, you need two sides to fight the war.
I think maybe, like, where it's happening. But also, it wasn't
like only
World War
in Germany.
1 and 2 are not like a Germany specific war.
The world, it was happening in the world.
So I do not know.
Yeah, and it seems like what he does is get people angry and want to fight each other. So he's saying, I created the Nazis to make them want to fight other people.
It is fascinating that they do not say anything about Vietnam in this I feel in this section.
Yeah.
So
this is true.
Given that I feel like a lot of the audience they want are gonna be more familiar with that. Well, I mean, it is 2009, so there were a lot more like current ongoing stuff at the time.
Yeah, I suppose so. The thing is, okay, so you're saying that when it wasn't the apocalypse, you did the Nazis, and now when it is the apocalypse, you're just making a town of 20 people kill each other? Like, let's just have it be the apocalypse then. I think this is better.
Yeah. Like, why are you here?
Let's just do the apocalypse all the time forever, because that's not World War II. What the apocalypse is 20 people killing each other. I can let that happen. Like, it's not great, but it is better than World War II. Sam goes, I know who you are. Like, bro, like, this is like Quiz Bowl when you get to the last possible, like, part where it's obvious and anyone should be able to buzz in. Like, you don't even need to say, I know who you are. You did not succeed at anything by figuring this out this late, Sam. Yeah, so Sam realizes that there's no demons, and War's just like, no, I just set all this up. And, you know, this just really shows that, like, humans are vicious and evil. And Sam goes, no, you're doing this. And then War's argument.
Yeah.
Let's dissect. Like, what he says is, last week, everyone was good. This week, they're killing each other after I did things. This proves that you always wanted to kill each other.
And then
like,
he goes,
no?
You've seen the Irish. They're all Irish. Which is
like okay, girl.
No, I mean, the thing is, this is a villain. So this is not supposed to be whatever, like a good stance. But also, like, Supernatural does not do anything to refute it. And also, they make the exact same argument in 301, right? That, like, people are just fundamentally like
people are
that.
all secretly evil. Yeah, no, I have that speech written down. Because, okay, what they say in 301 is, and you call us sins. We're not sins, man. We are natural human instinct, and you can repress and deny us all you want, but the truth is you are just animals. Horny, greedy, hungry, violent animals. This is like... They just
This
took
exact same
these
one.
words and put them into ChatGPT and asked it to summarize.
No, it's like, the thing is, like, we, like, it is trying to make us believe that this is a reasonable thing for
Stance.
war to say and a reasonable stance to say. And it's like, well, it's not. Like, you were there, and that is the reason why they're killing. Like,
Yeah, like, he literally says they were fine last week, then I did something, now they're killing each other. This proves that they always wanted to kill each other. No, it doesn't! Like, you are getting thrown out of any journal you even think to publish in, sir.
like he was like, I've just removed inhibitions, and the inhibitions were there.
Inhibitions are
So,
your,
like-
like, making you hallucinate?
Yeah, so like, I mean, the concept of like the most true human self is self without inhibition, and it's like
That sees other people as having demon eyes. Like, I don't know if that's the case.
also like inhibition is also human instinct. Like,
Yeah.
it's also part of your
Yeah.
psyche, of your human self. Like, okay, I mean,
What the fuck
that, like,
ever.
it is one of those things where it's like supernatural has a terrible stance on everything. So like, even when they're
Yes.
trying to purposefully have a terrible stance, it like completely misreads everything. And I don't even think they're purposefully trying to have a terrible stance in this
Yeah,
scene.
I think they're like, this is war saying the hard truth.
Yeah. And it's like, the truth is not true, and also very
Yeah.
soft. So
Yeah, this is war saying the soft lies.
exactly.
Yeah, it's just, it's dumb. It's stupid. Sam is like, I'm gonna kill you myself. And then War says, that's adorable considering you're my poster boy. And then
boy
goes
for
on
War?
to say things that are completely unrelated to war.
Yeah. No, but like,
He
what
just
he's
goes,
saying
you
is
want to
like,
do
lust for
drugs because it
power,
feels good. Like,
whatever.
what?
Like, he's saying like, it's a slippery slope, and blah blah blah.
Sam has never gone out of his way to be extra violent so he can drink blood.
Yeah, and also like, I don't know, like, I was thinking of like, you're my poster boy. What the fuck? What? Well, first of all, no. And okay, that's all my input is in that statement.
Yeah, first of all, like, I know who's smashing his phone every 2 months during the Zoom call, and it's not Sam Winchester.
And that is also just removed from a war. Like, why are they? I don't know. Like,
I mean, okay, it seems like what he thinks war is like, there are
people
many things that he thinks
fighting.
war is. Like, first he's saying that it's like fighting people.
and
which,
being
like,
a hater.
is not-
Like, okay.
and being a hater. Which I don't think is war. Like, there's like an organizational like
Yeah.
aspect to it. And
Lust
then
for
second, he's
power.
just saying,
You can
like,
have lust for
wanting
many things without going
blood.
to war.
Yeah, I agree. So, what the fuck ever, man. I don't know. He just, he loves to make connections that don't make sense. He's selecting all the red herrings on the NYT games.
It's so irritating to me when people paint war as something unavoidable because it's human nature. And it's like, it's unavoidable because we have set up our society this way. Like, those are completely different things, you know? And like, like, just making it like a human thing completely ignores all the historical, political, everything context. And like,
Yes.
this is what the war here is doing. It's like, oh, it's not about the history or the political or the whatever anything. It's solely
it's-
about people wanting violence. And like, well, one, it's not. And two, like, your war. You're supposed to have more interest in this. Why is your analysis of the situation so, like, stupid?
Yeah.
Like, have some complexity, dude. This is your job.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I feel like if I'm an evil, like, entity who's supposed to represent war, right? I would, like, take glee and satisfaction about, like, war being something formulated, you know? Like, it's like a domino effect.
I did such a good job.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, I did this to the economy here, which caused them to need to do this. Yeah.
And here it's like, and I didn't even do anything. It's just people who are doing it. And it's like, how is this fun for you?
Yeah.
This is your job and you're bad at it? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I think that is what he's saying.
Stupid as fuck.
Yeah, so when War calls Sam his poster boy, Sam goes, "What's that supposed to mean?" Which, like, real. What is it supposed to mean? And War is just like, you can't stop thinking about it ever since you saw it dripping off the blade of that knife. Blood isn't automatic war stuff. Blood can be pestilent stuff. I mean, I would call, like, addiction a medical thing, so that is probably more pestilency than war-y.
Yeah.
So, whatever. Yeah, Sam says, "You're wrong." And War says, "Save your protest for your brother. I can see inside your head, and it's a one-track city of blood, blood, blood. Lust for power. You want to be strong again, but not just strong, stronger than everybody. Good intentions, quick slide to hell, buddy boy. You feel bad now? Wait till you're thigh-deep in warm corpses, because I'm just getting started." Okay, so he's saying that Sam wanting to be more powerful than everything else will eventually lead to him being thigh-deep in warm corpses?
Yeah.
Okay. And, like, of who?
I don't know.
Like, who has Sam killed? Like, no one. Besides, like, monsters that Supernatural says is okay to kill, and I guess 2 real teenagers. But Sam does not really react to that this episode. Like, I feel like if we wanted to dig deeper into the I can't trust myself shit, I think the I feel really guilty about killing 2 teenagers thing
I think here, like, Sam does think he started the apocalypse, so casualties from that can be counted as his, except it's not Sam, so don't think like that.
Yeah. But, okay, I guess he thinks that. Whatever. Okay. So, Sam wants power and he wants to be stronger than everybody else. And currently, he thinks the good intentions are so that he can save more people. But it is actually because it felt good. That is where Sam's at, and that's what War is helping him realize right now, I guess.
Yeah.
Yes? Okay. Why not? I don't have any reason to not think that's true, I suppose. Mostly, I think that this scene doesn't work that much as a Sam, you're secretly evil, just because the whole time Sam is looking up with, like, his sad, wet eyes with still, like, salt crusted around his mouth. Like, he looks like Mommy, I threw up.
He literally dies.
Okay. If this is the case, sure. And then War's like, okay, time to put on a show. And he twists his ring to make blood come out of his head, and then he, like, falls to the ground and starts screaming, and he's like, "Oh my god, like, Sam hurt me, and he said all the demons are coming to kill us." And, you know, Rufus and Joe hear all this, and then they slap Sam and are like, "We gotta go kill everyone, woo."
Anyway, in the fucking church, the War comes in and it's like, "Hi guys." Like, doesn't say hi guys. He should have. But yeah, he tells them that, like, yeah, the demons, I saw them. It's horrible. They're going to attack us. They're going to kill all of us. And, well, Dean who has been saying that, like, there's no actual demons, and thought, like, he was organizing everyone. Obviously, he's suspicious, but War it just keeps on pushing. And then when he realizes that, oh, I can't trick Dean, he just twists his finger ring. He twists his ring. He twists his ring. And, you know, everybody starts seeing Dean and Ellen as demons. Sad. Or is it?
Sad.
The people in the church start packing up like guns and knives and everything.
Yeah. And not salt rounds.
Yeah, like for real guns. In the house where Sam is in, Rufus and Joe are also organizing a preparation for the demons who they think are about to come. And what they have done is they've been tying pipe bombs to like the window
windows
pane
for if they break the glass to get in.
Yeah. Joe says, Rufus, pipe bombs won't kill a demon. And Rufus says, yeah, but in my experience, demons come at you slower if they're in a body with no limbs.
Mm-hmm. He is pretty cool. Like, he could definitely be the main character of an action movie. But unfortunately, he is in a situation where this is going to hurt people.
Yeah. Joe, of course, upset because, well, it could be Ellen, could be my mom. But Rufus reassures her, etc., etc. And we start like the fight scene of this episode where Ellen and Dean come in. Like, Ellen and Joe are attacking each other. And Ellen is trying to convince Joe that, like, she's actually Ellen. And Rufus and Dean are doing the exact same thing. And we focus more on the Rufus Dean side.
Yeah, which not
does
the
make
one
me
that I'm
sad.
more interested
Yeah,
in.
they don't even have that much
it.
of a connection. Like, who give a shit? The visuals though of like every single POV shot where they're looking at someone and they have the demon eyes is pretty good. I think I really like those. But yeah, finally Dean was able to convince Rufus, and it's like, wow, I am hallucinating, and it is the Horseman of War. And Rufus says, did you figure this all out by yourself, genius? Which is so rebel just for kicks of Dean.
True. Yeah. I thought it was fun because it's like oh shit, like I guess I did some bad things and killed some real people, but like I'm not really gonna grapple with that right now, so I'm just gonna make a snarky remark and we'll just know that I feel bad about this. Yeah. Yeah, he and Bobby are quite perfect for each other. So Dean, Rufus, Ellen, Joe, they all meet back up. They're all on the same page. And they're like, okay, we have to find war before everyone in this town kills each other. But at this point, all the church survivors are already shooting at the house. The windows are exploding. Other people in the house are like shooting at people outside. It's all very chaotic. Ellen gives Joe a gun. Dean runs upstairs to get Sam. When Dean goes in, Sam goes, Dean, it's not demons. And they say, at the same time, it's war. Sam says he's doing it through his magical ring. Dean says he turned it right before he made everyone hallucinate and go hell, bitch. Interesting word. Yeah. Is bitch like a gender-neutral term for Dean now?
That's why he was like, oh, Ellen, Bruce too easy. Everybody's a bitch. It's fine.
I'm a bitch, you're a bitch. Like, come on. Yeah, Rufus tells everyone to stop shooting, and he has to knock out some of the people in the house who aren't listening to him. The pastor gets shot. Ellen outside helps this young woman try to put pressure on the wound properly or CPR him or something, and tries to explain to the woman that she's not a demon, but she gets attacked by the guy who was a soldier.
Yeah, and it's very long. He's about to shoot her, and it's like,
her, but there's no bullets, and then he pulls out.
Why is there no bullets?
I think he just ran out.
I was like, they make a whole point of this guy being good with guns, and he didn't even load this gun properly. Like, okay.
Yeah, he pulls out a knife, and like it's like about to slit her throat or whatever. War's about to head out of town, and then Sam and Dean run up to him. They grab him. War's like, you can't kill War. And Dean goes, we know. And then Sam slams his hand against the car and then cuts off a bunch of his fingers so that the ring falls off. Austin sort of comes to, that's the soldier guy, he comes to, realizes that Ellen's not a demon. Everyone just sort of stops and stands there feeling very bad about
First of all,
things that they've
like,
done.
well, how did he realize that Ellen wasn't a demon anymore?
Just because the eyes, but also it's like, well, maybe she's just hiding them. Like, we don't know.
Yeah, like, you don't know that. It's not like there's any visible, like, oh, and a demon escaped this body or whatever. But whatever, the whole point they're trying to make is the influence, blah, 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 if you clear the mind and blah, blah. I don't fucking know.
Well, that isn't the point that they're trying to make, though, because they're saying everyone secretly wanted to murder each other anyway.
No, but, like, here, like, what I'm actually thinking is, like, well, even if you remove the source of all that violence now, because it has already happened and those thoughts have already been implanted and it will just continue and continue. But no, they're like, no, but it will really stop. And it's like, well...
Yeah, which is quite funny.
What is the
Like, the only
ideological
thing
stance
causing
that
them
we're
to
trying
kill
make
each
here?
other was the black eyes. So, like, what's up then?
Iconic. And by iconic, I mean pretty bad.
It's horrible. Yeah, quite lackluster. So Dean picks up the ring and War leaves.
Yeah. Well, War doesn't leave. War's gone. And so is the
War's
car.
gone.
So sad. Now, they're at a picnic table. And it is a nice scenery. It's like, I think there's a lake. There's mountains. It's grassy. And all the, like, far shots of them, they're at the corner of the frame, which I really did like. Or at the side of the frame, I should say. Yeah, Dean is making a Lord of the Rings joke, but Sam's like, okay, I'm gonna deliver my speech. At first, Dean actually tries to stop him, but Sam just goes, no, actually, it's time to speak. And he says, I know you don't trust me. Just now I realized something. I don't trust me either. But again, I don't want to make fun of Sam's delivery
Sam's
of life
being
this
a healthy
episode.
person trying to take charge of his life.
No, I understand.
But it's the delivery.
It's the delivery is bad. He's like,
I didn't notice any acting issues with this scene.
I don't know. Again, like, I kept on trying to tell myself, like, it's bad acting because it's like when you're saying something that you rehearsed for a long time. It's like, okay. But it also is a bit jarring. Or jarring. Bad joke. It's just jarring.
Real.
Yeah, he says that when I saw that blood, like, it's all I've been thinking about. And I tell myself it's for the right reasons. My intentions are good. And it feels true. But I think underneath, I just miss the feeling. I know how messed up that sounds. Which means I know how messed up I am. It's literally fine.
Yeah, like, I don't, like, it sounds so messed up that I miss the feeling. Like, no, that's,
No,
like,
it doesn't.
normal.
That's normal.
Like, it sounds normal.
It's
like, I'd be
normal.
surprised if you were like, I don't miss the feeling.
Yeah.
It's like Sam both wants to be a normal person so bad, but also his idea of what a normal person is so abnormal.
Yeah.
Like, it's like a person on the TV who's normal and not a real person who's normal.
Yeah. He says, the problem's not the demon blood. What I did, I can't blame the blood or Ruby or anything. The problem's me. Literally also untrue, I think. How far I'll go.
What does he mean by... Okay, what is what I did? Raising Lucifer?
Yeah, I suppose. And it's like, who cares?
The
I understand that it's a big deal, but also, like, who give a shit, Sam?
Well, and also, like, I can't blame the blood or Ruby or anything.
That's literally
I
are
think
the
you can blame
reasons.
Ruby and the angels.
Those literally
I think those
are the
are the people
reasons.
you can blame.
there's something in me that scares the hell out of me. I understand that. It's probably true. Like, there is probably something in here that scares the hell out of him.
Yeah, no, but when he goes, the problem's me, how far I'll go, I literally paused and screamed, how far you'll go to save the world?
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, I think that is fine. And I know we're just supposed to operate based off of the, like, everyone in Supernatural knows already that drinking demon blood is crossing a line, so, like, the fact that Sam was willing to do such an evil and fucked up thing to save the world shows that there's something wrong with him. But, like, I don't believe it, so it's not working for me.
Yeah. And Sam is still doing his speech. Like, the last couple of days, I caught a glimpse. And he was just like, can we get a fucking thesis statement? Like, what's happening here? And Sam says, I'm no shape to be hunting. I need to step back. Because I'm dangerous. Maybe it's best we just go our separate ways.
What has Sam done that is dangerous in the last 2 episodes?
You're saying dangerous. I think you're interpreting dangerous as dangerous to other people. I think I am interpreting it as I'm in danger of drinking demon blood again, which is a danger to myself.
You don't say dangerous to talk about danger to yourself.
No, I think you do.
Are people like, I'm dangerous. I sit alone in my house and drink more alcohol than I should. Is that a sentence people say?
Yeah, I get what you mean. Huh. Well, I suppose so. Well, who has he endangered? Absolutely no one, I don't think.
Nobody. Not a person. None of them.
Like, maybe he could have said,
he killed those teenagers, but that was on war.
Here's the thing. If he brought up the fact that, like, the teenagers didn't even do the demon buzz.
Yeah. If he was like, I should have noticed when I stabbed them that there wasn't the electric thing, but I was so focused on the blood that, like, I could have figured this war thing out earlier. Like, okay. Yeah.
And if he was like, like, if this one distracted me like that, what more the other future cases? Like, okay, fine, reasonable. It's just they completely ignore it, and I think it's a very interesting thing that they do that they just completely ignore.
Yeah.
Dean says, okay, I think you're right. And Sam says, like, I thought we were gonna fight, but Dean says, well, the truth is I spend more time worrying about you than doing the job right, and I can't afford that, not now. And Sam says, I'm sorry, Dean. And Dean says, I know you are, Sam. And Sam stands up, and I love the shot. Again, I love the scene, like the look of the scene and the shot where Sam stands up, and then he's like halfway out of the chair, and Dean says, hey, do you want to take the Impala? And when I tell
I did care
that I started crying so hard and so raw. It's just, I don't know. I mean, last episode I even joked, right? Like, I thought Dean was just leaving it. This is Sam's car too. And Dean heard me. Like, I don't know, Sarah Gamble from 15 or so, whatever, how many years ago it was that she wrote this. Was like, I hear you, Grey BABPod from 15 years or so in the future. Dean's gonna acknowledge that this is Sam's car too. I don't know, because it also just isn't a car for them, It's they grew up here, and like most of their time together has been spent here, and now they're gonna be apart, and Dean is offering what is essentially his car to Sam, and that does mean something. His car, their home, like, you may need it more than me right now, so do you want to take it?
Yeah, I think it's partly like, I'm
extending.
going to be worried about you while you're away, and like, it'll feel like there's a piece of me that's still with you and protecting you via baby. He also lost the Samulet this episode.
God,
like, I guess that would make this separation a bit rougher.
Yeah. It is like an extension of an olive branch in a way, right? Like, we're going to separate here, but I want you to know that I'm not mad at you because I am willing to give you this car that is so important to me. And the whole situation was like, I don't trust you. I know you don't trust me, but hey, I trust you with my car.
Yeah.
And that does
Yeah.
mean something to me.
To Sam also.
Yeah. Like, Dean is so protective of the Impala. Always, always, always. And the fact that here in a it's just, it means something. And it must mean something to Sam too, because it does take him aback a little. And then he goes, take care of yourself, Dean. And I do think that is like a response to the Impala offer. And yeah. And Dean just watches as Sam gets one singular, almost empty backpack from the backseat of the Impala. And then goes...
a shoulder bag.
A shoulder bag too? Well, that's fine. And then hops
It's like
into...
brown. A random fucking car.
That is just across them? Like, this dude's hearing everything.
He doesn't even know this guy. What is this?
Yeah.
Like, hitchhiking culture was, like, bigger back then. But, like, I don't even know if he talked to that guy before getting in.
Yeah. And, like, this guy, he's so near. He's, like, probably, like, gossiping, overhearing Sam and Dean. And Sam's like, I don't think I just get in the shape to be hunting anymore. And, like, we must part ways. And the guy's like, why are they so dramatic about, like, deer about deer hunting? Like, okay.
Yeah. Though, I mean, I guess I feel like if I was hearing this and hearing someone be that emotional, I would assume that it's like, I don't trust myself around guns because I'm suicidal. Is probably how I would take that conversation.
That's true. Well, what did we think about this episode?
I didn't really like it. It was whatever.
Really? But you seem to enjoy talking about it, or I don't know. I enjoyed it, so I assume you did also.
I think you enjoyed it.
And I'm projecting, yeah.
Like, I watched it, and then, like, I took a shower, and then I called Danica, and she was like, how was the episode? And I said, of, like, the what? What episode? You mean of the bear that I watched 2 days ago? And she was like, no, the episode of Supernatural you told me you were watching before you showered. And I said, oh, I fucking forgot about that. So that's how I feel about it.
I like this episode. I think, again, like, it reminded me of why I kept on watching Supernatural. So that's something. And I appreciate the character work that they're doing. I like that we're back to a case episode, even if this is connected to the bigger plot. And I suppose I like also that we're starting to see how they are incorporating the bigger plot into the case episodes. Which, I mean, I love season 1. Or do I? Well, I mean, but it was a complaint of the earlier seasons, right? That, like, they will just completely abandon plot to do fuck all for a couple episodes.
Yeah.
And here it's like we're seeing them intermingle, and it's because the apocalypse is so big it's impossible to not have it intermingle with everything. But yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah. Best line, worst line?
I mean, best line, the Impala one.
Yeah.
For both of us, I'm assuming.
Yeah. Worst line, I would say, is Wars. Germany.
God.
The rest of that. Also,
Middle
specifically,
East,
like,
Darfur.
look at the Irish. They're all Irish. I hated that line so much.
Yeah. Like, there's a reason that they're fighting. Actually, it's a real thing.
Yeah.
But whatever.
I mean, you can say that about anything. Look at the people. They're all people.
Yeah, it's a real thing most of the time.
Like, look at all the people. They're all people. Like, yeah. And, well, I don't know.
Why is it national borders the ones that were granting legitimacy here, while also saying it's just human nature? And I don't think government or, like, the economy or, like, any structures are involved in war at all. It's just you guys want to kill each other. And also wanting to drink blood is the same thing as war.
Yeah. You can look at a blue whale eating, like, a million curls in one inhale and be like, look at these organisms. Like, they're all organisms. Like, okay, well, I don't know, man.
Poor real.
Stupid as fuck. Anyway.
Stupid as fuck. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you on the Wars lines being the worst, but I guess to add another worst line when Dean's like, why are you being so sensitive about Joe calling you a bitch?
He is so stupid.
Wait, did Ellen and Joe, did they even get to hug?
I'm not sure. I don't think so.
They did, because we just saw, like, Dean and Rufus's exchange, and then they come out.
Yeah.
So Joe and Ellen getting ready to hunt. That's so sad.
Let's do our spreadsheets.
Okay.
I think for misogyny, I don't think
Like
they do.
maybe one for
Maybe
the
one
bruise
for the-
easily, don't you?
Yeah. Racism,
Yeah.
they don't do anything. This one, do they?
I'm not sure where the Germany, Middle East are for falls.
Yeah.
Like,
I think it does
feel like
warrant
it's
something.
a form of racism. Yeah.
It is. 2. I'll give that a 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, yeah. 2.
Homophobia is 0. Oh my god, we're going to
0.
win. What the fuck did we put homophobia for and sympathy for the devil?
Calling Michael Kate Blanchett.
It's a thing I'm sensitive about.
Yeah. It's the thing you're sensitive about.
Okay, well, so let's do IMDb. What's your guess? I'm assuming,
Lower than last episode.
of course. Last episode was 8.7. That's crazy.
8.4.
I would say this is an 8.3 actually.
Whoa.
And I'm not just saying that to be one lower than you. Like, I genuinely think that.
Okay, yeah, these were your real thoughts before
Yeah.
I came into your life.
Okay, well, it's an 8.6. You got it this time.
I mean, I didn't get it, but I was closer
You're
than
closer.
you.
You're closer.
Huh, that's quite high.
That is quite high.
Like, people like action, I guess, and people would be like, oh my god, the twist.
You know what? I'm
Do
going
you
to
think
bet
that's
people are
it?
like, I love a case. Because that's how I felt.
Okay.
Or I love Cass, which is true also. Or I love Joe and Ellen and Rufus, which is also true.
So what's the Horseman episodes are the highlight of the season. They really nailed the concept. They got the right actors. They got the right cars.
Me.
God,
Yeah.
typical supernatural watcher.
Literally me though. Like, they got the right cars, and they literally did. Like, I mean, we did go on that fucking thing about, like, why does Ruby have an orange car? And it's like, well, why
Well,
does
it was
she?
cute. There were stripes on it. That's like a special car.
Yeah.
We have to think about that.
I have been thinking of becoming a car person. But
Yeah.
I feel like it's such a typical, like, oh yeah,
Guy.
you're like a guy and you're into cars. Good for you. But it's just the fucking. Have I told you I got a Caravaggio coffee table book? It's a wonder.
Yes.
And that store that I buy all my coffee table books from,
It has a car book.
they have so many car books, so many. There's like a Ford one. Well, the last time I went there, there's a Bentley one, a Ford one, like, and then just cars in general. And it's just every single time I go there, there's a new car book, and it's like, well, maybe I should get one. But unfortunately, I think it's a bit too much for me. Sorry, Dean. Dean isn't even a car guy. He's a one car guy. Maybe I should become a
Yeah.
one car guy also.
Sure.
Oh, the brother relationship is great in this, but it does highlight how Sam from the beginning has led a more entitled life.
What?
Dean is going the emotions of extreme betrayal. It's not even about breaking the seal. It's about the season-long lies and betrayal of Sam consistently putting Ruby ahead of Dean and taking the word of Ruby. What makes Dean's reaction so true is that Sam knows that Ruby is a master of manipulating Sam as she did about being able to save Dean. Sam was warned by not only Cassiel but Chuck and Pamela that what he was doing was wrong, but again, Again, he listened to Ruby. Sam being upset that he's not trusted or forgiven automatically. Yup, spoiled child at its best.
What is this talking about? Like, they
This is
grew up the exact same way.
review.
I don't think Stanford dorms for 3 years changes you fundamentally as a person.
This is from
What are they talking
2021.
about?
The show was over when they had this thought. Okay, slay. Literally, I saw the first line of that review and I was like, what? That's crazy.
Gasp. This person does make the good point that, like, is it really so wise for Sam to be left on his own? Isn't
Yeah.
putting a recovery demon bloodaholic out there on his lonesome going to cause more trouble rather than lessen it?
Yeah.
Which,
like,
I think I see the point. I feel like if I didn't know that Sam was going to be fighting demons in a bar next episode, I would assume that him leaving is just him going to, like, stay with Bobby and, like, help him around the house for a bit while he gets adjusted to the
Yeah.
wheelchair. But, like, that isn't what he does?
yeah. Why is that not
Like,
what he does?
Yeah, like, okay, you quit hunting, you want to heal. Like, it seems pretty obvious that you go and help Bobby out around the house for a bit while you, like, get your head on straight or whatever. Like, where is he going?
I don't know.
Oh, ouch.
Oh.
This person says, I wish this episode had more Joe and Ellen, and if this is their last episode, it was kind of a crappy end for their characters. On the one hand, I hope the writers both bring them both back for at least one episode so that they can get a proper send-off, but on the other hand, I don't want these two characters brought back simply to be killed off. They deserve better than that, writers. And this was in September 2009, so they did not know.
That is interesting.
I'm so sorry to the Chalice of Evil.
That's so interesting that they think this was the last Joe and Ellen episode. Why is that?
I think just because we haven't seen them for like 2 years.
Yeah, that's true. So you may assume that this is like a one-time. They're bringing them back for
one-time thing. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think that's it for this episode of Bustation Beauties. Next week, we will be discussing Season 5, Episode 3, Free to Be You and Me. Leave us a rating or review wherever you get your podcasts.
Follow us on... Sorry, wait. I got distracted by the last review. Are you seeing the last review?
What is it? Wait, let me see.
It's like... I'm trying to figure out what stance they're taking here. Literally, are these the lessons we're teaching our children? I remember a time when we took responsibility for our own actions, not force blame on someone else who writes this trash. Okay, who are they saying? Okay, they're like, okay, Sam feels bad because Dean's being mean to him. Dean is angry because Sam was manipulated. He was... Okay, yeah, okay, they're blaming Dean. They're saying that Dean's mad at Sam for being manipulated when Dean himself was manipulated into doing something worse, which is torturing people for 10 years. And they say, yet this sanctimonious piece of garbage decides to place full blame on his brother. Real. Yeah, and then it ends with are these the lessons we're teaching our children? Is Supernatural primarily aimed at children? I thought it was for like high schoolers and young adults and also above.
Yeah.
Well, whatever. Only 1 out of 13 found this helpful. Well, I found this helpful to me laughing and also reading these words and laughing more. So there. Yeah. Well, anyway, follow us on social media. We are on Tumblr at bustyasianbeautiespod.tumblr.com. Our official tag is BABPod, BABPod. Thanks to everyone who's donated to our Ko-fi at ko-fi.com/bustyasianbeautiespod, which is where our outtakes live. And check out our merch at babpod.redbubble.com.
You can email us any feedback, comments, or questions? Inquiries at bustyasianbeautiespod@gmail.com. See you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.